Comic Book Land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you could only be here for one reason, and it's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by Comic Book Clique. And as you know, I am never alone. Sir, please introduce yourself.
I am he who watches the Watcher, Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth.
Gregory Thomas is here in studio. GT Rebirth is here, and for a very important reason, with Endgame out, literally breaking box office records. We are tapping on your shoulder, Avatar. With it and its immense success. How many times have you seen it at this point?
I've seen it twice.
Okay. I've
Yes.
seen it twice legally. And I've seen it a bunch of times in different ways. And
I've seen clips a bunch of times in different ways.
It's at a point, yes, where it's all over social media. People could not wait to talk about this movie. You literally got about, $2.2 billion worth of people to be quiet for the most part about this film.
There is so much more of an appreciation for not spoiling this film than there has ever been, I think, for not spoiling Game of Thrones. Because people just live tweet Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. But I do appreciate those who were able to help their fellow fan by not spoiling it outright. But we are coming into this episode believing that you are just like us. You are not only fans of Marvel, but super fans of these comic book and superhero properties. And so this, I guess you would say, are we going to get spoilery on the entire MCU? I guess just a bit, right?
I mean, to a degree.
To a degree. We won't be going from plot to plot, but we will be ranking the entirety of the 22 films in the Titanic, oh, pun intended, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I never thought I'd see the Titanic go down twice.
That was, yeah.
It's crazy how that works.
Oh my God! I wonder, has anyone checked on James Cameron? No.
I think he's still planning to do his re-releases for his Avatar film, so he can just make that little bit of extra cash.
He's calling George R.R. Martin, like, hey, listen, we could figure something out. All right.
Robert's Rebellion coming out 2025.
It's happening. Even the Avatar movies got moved back. Did you see that? They're not coming out until 2 years from now.
Didn't they just release their slate today?
Yes.
As of recording.
And it's also and the MCU films, question mark. That will be
I do love
out.
how that goes. Untitled MCU film.
And
Untitled Star Wars film.
Yeah, so it's not like usual where we have an entire phase in front of us to look forward to and pick apart and predict. For the first time in a very long time, we don't really know, besides the sequels that have been confirmed, what's coming out and in what order. So, we figured the best thing to do was actually look back at the entirety of all these movies that we saw.
Which is basically 75% of what Endgame does.
Yes, it does. And on Kevin Smith's show, he spoke about them, Marcus and McFeely, writers of Endgame, who were also the writers of all the Cap films, also wrote Thor 2. And so they made you watch every one of their films in a way in that movie. They got their bow at the end of that movie. And that's what this is all about. It's all about the full circle. It's all about reminiscing about these films. But to get a little lightweight into this, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the baddies of this, because with Thanos coming out, a lot of people saw Thanos for the first time.
Big purple man in a chair.
Yes, and people have some strong opinions on him. So I decided to, it'd be cool if me and GT thought of the 5 best and 5 worst villains of the MCU. So I'll go ahead with my 5 worst.
Sure.
And then I'll have you go ahead with your 5 worst. And then we'll sing praises for some of the people on the best. So, for my number 5 worst, and you're probably not going to like this, is Caecilius. Now, I hesitated putting him on here because of the idea that maybe the overall villain is actually Dormammu. But I also feel like if we're playing those games, then Thanos is in Avengers.
The overall villain
you're in Avengers, and then it gets really, really tricky. And so, nope, Caecilius. And I love Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
And I just, maybe he should have been more, though. Maybe they should have just skipped it, but I get, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and I didn't think I could get that right on the first try. He's a great actor as well, but something about Caecilius being a pawn as he is, and we find this a lot. As I'm looking, a lot of these are origin villains. Origin story villains are not the best.
No, they're not.
Because I guess we were trying really hard to flesh out our
the protagonist.
Our protagonist.
Yeah. Our protagonist and his lovable friends that will also be along for the ride.
Yes.
Most likely.
And
sometimes.
And then you have the villain and his nameless army.
Yes.
Blank, blank, blank. And so, Caecilius, sorry, bro. You're number 5 for me as the worst. You got a worst on your list?
Okay. I thought we were going full list.
We're going to go full list for the movies, but I figure we can play volleyball with this.
Gotcha. My number 5 is actually the villain of the movie I am oftentimes someone's the sole defender of, which is going to be Malekith.
Okay.
The irony being that Malekith is the main villain of Marvel's big summer event at the moment, War of the Realms.
Yes.
He gets next to zero play in Thor the Dark World.
That's true.
Because Thor the Dark World is, to both its credit and its detriment, mostly a story about two brothers trying to, like, how do you say, rekindle their relationship in some way.
Yeah.
And all of Thor's complications with his family.
Yes.
His terrible relationship with his father, his much closer relationship with the mother, and the mother as being the only thing that really kept the two brothers from just destroying each other for years.
Yeah.
And that loss. And then sort of the, how do you say, the revenge of avenging the mother's death being the thing that kind of keeps Thor and Loki working out for a while.
Yeah.
Before Loki starts to...
And you have all that.
Yeah.
And you have an entire metric ton of Jane and her assistant and her assistant's assistant.
Yes.
And Dr. Selvig being naked in the Stonehenge.
Yes. Also, the Warriors 3 are somehow still involved in this, yes.
And somehow in all that, you have to shove Malekith the Accursed.
Yes.
In here, and
but we have to because it has an Infinity Stone.
Exactly.
It's just,
yes.
So like Malekith gets barely any screen time or any actual like. We get what is usually the kind of thing you'd get from this, which is a giant story about like gods and the beginning of worlds, and Odin being the cool narrator that he kind of is.
Yes.
But for the most part, Malekith gets no screen time and no character. Like, it's not even that he doesn't get character development. He is just a baddie.
Yes. I will grab the baton because, ironically, my number 4 is Malekith.
Sure.
And so,
we may have to skip ahead here because my number 4 is Caecilius.
There you go. See, I'm telling you, great minds think alike. So Malekith wouldn't be probably on this list because he to me, he was kind of like a no fuss villain.
Sure.
But the reason why he's on this list now is because you told me to read Jason Aaron's run.
I done messed it up for you.
And so, in reading Jason Aaron's run, the complete sadism of Malekith.
Yes.
He's visually striking, the way he looks, the half black face, which they kind of did with like Burnt and stuff.
He burns him with the lightning at one point, so it's like...
But the other half is white. You can make him blue, bro.
Yeah.
Give me my blue Malekith.
Right.
But just like... This is somebody
the black and blue look with the red outfit is a very, like, colorful, striking thing.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of remember
look at the Grandmaster. All they did was put blue on his chin. Because they were like, people were going to... Too many blue characters in here.
True.
But, like, I'm reading the run, and he's gutting people. He's cutting people's eyelids off. Like, he does not care. He is so crazy and so radical that they ultimately crown him king of the realm, even though he's terrifying everybody. They're like, well, we'd rather somebody who can put their foot down.
Respect strength, and that's the strongest, scariest guy we got.
And so to go from that, I think they try to shorthand sadistic with cowardice,
I guess,
in Dark World. And so all we're shown is that he's quick to abandon his entire army.
Right.
But I don't feel like that's the same thing. And so that's why Mr. Accursed is number 4 on my list. Did you want to say anything else about Caecilius?
Caecilius disappointed me in the sense that I guess it was just in the aftermath of it, I find out that there was a bit more to this story that they filmed and just did not make the cuts. So it's just like, it was a disservice to a character that could have been more interesting because it does play into... it plays deeply into the Ancient One who has a massive effect on both Doctor Strange's character direction as well as Baron Mordo's.
Yeah.
But because Caecilius is just sort of a guy that steps in and it's just like, you don't understand, she's lying to you. It's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Right, yeah.
Whatever. And then we fight.
Yeah,
we kung fu fight.
Yeah, because there was never, when Strange finds out that wrinkle about the Ancient One, he doesn't go back to Caecilius like, well, tell me more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were right about that one thing. Tell me, there's not even a glimpse of that temptation. It's just, I'm still good, but the Ancient One's wrong.
nor is there a glimpse of that, what he's talking about when it comes to the Ancient One taking in broken things and then,
like
manipulating them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, wait, but what happened to you? And we don't find out what Caecilius' journey was.
Right.
And why he's so upset with the woman.
Yeah.
So, like, there's
because she was a former student, right?
He was a former student of Kamar-Taj. And he has that line where he says to her that she disappointed him. I'm just like, when did that happen?
Exactly. Yes, please. Rewind.
How?
Can someone rewind this?
I want to know, though.
So I thought just crossed my mind because some of these on here and even some of these films come directly from the comic books. Most of these villains do. And so I can see somebody listening to this who goes like, well, you got to take your comics knowledge out of it. And to that I say, no, because this is my list. but mostly because I do think that there are various different different tangential things that are going to have effects on our list.
Yes.
Like maybe your number one is your number one because your theater experience was amazing. You know what I'm saying? Or you saw it with somebody that was close to you, or you won the ticket in a bet or something. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all these kind of things. And so for some of these villains, it is the distance that the character on screen was from the character in the comics, because a lot of that excitement is how they build the film. And so if I went in there thinking I was going to get a better Malekith and I don't, that's gonna change my mind. Whereas maybe somebody has Malekith higher on their list, not ever having known who he was.
Sometimes the biggest detriment is being too close to the source material.
Yes,
because then you don't have to be happy.
Right? Exactly. So my number 3. In a world with Justin Hammers and Obadiah Staines and you got a suit and I'm gonna build a suit too, my number 3 is a lesser villain than those. It's a man who goes by the name Yellow Jacket. I believe I can't remember his name. Oh, Cross. David Cross.
I think it's David or Darren.
Darren Cross.
Okay.
Mr. Cross. Well, I can't remember your name right now. And I probably could Google it, but you're not worth the Google in my opinion, because, he was a little bit too mustache twirly for me. Like, it was just like we're gonna take the tech, we're gonna steal the tech, and we're gonna sell it as a weapon. Like that's always it. And at this point, we had seen 3 Iron Man films,
right? So
this was exactly the plot from all those. And
I think it's always been I don't know if it's been a joke or if it's always been something that Marvel has noticed and tried to deal with in its own funny way, that was just like, yeah, Hank Pym and Tony Stark are kind of the same character on paper.
Yeah. Yep. Cocky scientists who are always on the brink of new technology, but no one wants to believe them until they bust it out, and then they prove everybody wrong.
It's just one sleeps with a bunch of women and one sleeps with the one whose relationship is terrible.
I felt a sense of danger with Obadiah.
Yeah.
That I'll never really forget, because I don't ever really find Jeff Bridges threatening. so like I remember
it was the hair.
Even I swear it's the hair. You look back at those pictures and it looks like a different man.
Yes.
And it's like, wow,
I didn't know it was Jeff Bridges until later, actually.
Yeah, me either. And so it's like, oh wow, that's big. But Darren Cross still same lack of hair.
And I know that actor too in a few things. I was just like, oh man, you're just like, you're hamming it up in this, and I get it, but like this isn't working.
He's fine, but on the list of fine, he's at the bottom.
Sure.
And so that's why Yellow Jacket is number 3 for me.
So here's the funny thing. As I put this together,
right,
Yellow Jacket was in that same exact spot.
Okay.
On mine.
Uh-huh.
And then I switched out Yellow Jacket because I remembered somebody just as disappointing from that same genre of superhero.
Okay.
And he disappointed me more because, like, I really liked it when I saw it in the trailers, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool and could be fun and interesting. And that guy's name is Whiplash.
Whiplash. All right. You didn't like the bird? Give me my bird.
No.
No.
Or the clumsy metaphor of blood in the water, and the sharks will come. And what's the line?
And he doesn't like shoes.
No.
My man hates shoes.
Not to mention the fact that the end of the second movie is basically the end of the first movie. It's like, I built my own suit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
It was a disappointing villain in the sense that the story had like a level of weight to it.
Okay.
Because like I like the idea that Tony might have to fess up to the fact that like your daddy left someone out in the cold.
Yeah.
Who was just as instrumental to this journey as he was.
He should have been more Zemo and less.
Probably should have. Yes.
But I feel like that was just a Russian caricature. Right? Like, he might as well have had a bottle of vodka in one hand and one of those big-ass furry hats.
Right.
Because that's just what it was. It was like, my father died, sick and poor, and now I will come.
Russia is very cold, and so am I.
He just gets a ticket to the Grand Prix or whatever, and just goes at it.
And then, like, it doesn't help itself that it's like, it just becomes this comedy of errors between Vanko and Hammer.
Yeah, and he's almost his attack dog.
Yeah, and then Hammer just builds him a bunch of suits. I was just like, so this is it?
Yes. And then Hammer builds him a bunch of suits, but then he hacks all the suits.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, who's fighting who?
And then
here?
all the suits became a bomb, and then I was just like...
But then Black Widow's trying to change in the back of the car.
I was going to say, like, why did we bring Black Widow in for this?
That movie is a lot. And in a movie that is a lot, I can see why Whiplash would
Whiplash with his cool electric whips is number 3 in disappointments.
I dig the Grand Prix look.
I did too.
I
was like, that's cool.
The weird Ironmonger kind of thing. Yeah. Ironmonger Whiplash. I'm not a fan of. And did you see that they kind of made like a quasi version of this in the comics? He has like a mask and the whips and like the tattoos and all that kind of stuff. I guess they try to find a middle ground with it because I don't remember what's the most modern Whiplash. There's probably not anything close to what I don't remember any
Whiplash, honestly.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of him until the movie came out.
From somebody you haven't heard since the movie till the movie came out to somebody that you probably heard 500,000 times, this is probably on everybody's list. But my number 2 is going to be the Mandarin. Now, this is a very loaded entry because I don't know. I put it all in there. I put Trevor Flattery in there. I put what's his face? Guy Pearce.
Aldrich
Killian in there. I put whatever villain was supposed to be the villain in Iron Man 3. I put it all in there. Because Iron Man 3, I feel like has a very personal story with Tony, and then they just throw Extremis in there, and Extremis is a story in itself. Yes. You could have seen that in Iron Man 4, of anything. But those Iron Man movies after Iron Man 1,
it's only like the how do you say, the shallowest shreds of Extremis just like scraped onto another story.
And it's the shallowest shreds of Iron Patriot. Why even put Iron Patriot in it? But these movies, I feel like 2 and 3 especially, became almost like I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? Yeah. I need you to mention the Avengers. I need you to introduce Black Widow. I need you to throw in Iron Patriot. And it becomes weighted by so many different things that I feel that without any of them getting time to breathe, it just all falls apart. And when it comes to Mandarin specifically, he's such a iconic Iron Man villain. You've heard this a million times since the film came out, but the idea that he would end up being used as a joke and then retcon to not be a joke, he's actually existing in the Marvel Universe as per the Hail to the King one-shot that you see.
So now there's this terrorist threat that nobody's...
But the fact that he's real means that there was no villain for Iron Man 3. You understand? He's real. So it's not even like, oh, they used the Mandarin, you just don't like their take. No, that's not their take on the Mandarin. There's an actual take on the Mandarin we haven't seen yet.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's
Here's the thing. And like, it took me a while to sort of appreciate it on paper.
Yes.
And I guess I had a slight higher a feeling for Iron Man 3 after the end of it, which is because I get the idea on paper of how this white dude used America's fear of any sort of global terrorism to corrupt and manipulate to his own personal benefit so that he can move his bad science around, for all sorts of things. And and faked all sorts of terrorist threats and did all that. Like, cool. I get that. If I get the idea of a business mogul, an evil business mogul, using that to his own benefit.
Yeah.
But screw you, I'm still upset that you bait and switched me.
Well, the worst...
So I've got a grudge.
The reason why he's so high on my list for worst villains, without a shadow of a doubt, is because I actually liked that propaganda stuff. It was scary to me.
It was. I thought the trailers for Iron Man 3 was really threatening and like, oh, they might redeem this really silly, based and terrible, like, racial crap character.
He seemed dangerous. He seemed all-knowing.
And we got this really good actor in Ben Kingsley to do it.
Sir Ben Kingsley. And then I'll never forget, in the propaganda, like, he's talking about, like, killing and all this kind of stuff, but there's a scene of his people hugging him, embracing him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's very real. That's very real in our world. And
I consider myself a teacher.
Oh my God! Oh, we used to say that all the time. We used to say, "And you'll never see me coming." Oh my God! Ready for another lesson? All of that was so good. So for that to be a fake out, really, really discouraging.
I was like, you faked me out with these really cool viral videos of terrorism and just gave me angry white guy in a suit.
Yes, and then you paid another white guy to act like he was a terrorist.
Yeah.
You know, which probably is a smart poke at the idea that people have been like, oh, United States makes their own enemies. But, like, there wasn't enough there to be there.
It killed me.
Who's rounding out your number 2?
My number 2 is another blue skin.
Another blue skin?
Another blue skin. They love that color.
All right.
It really pops on the pages, I'm told.
I feel you.
Which is another victim of having so much happening in the foreground that you don't have time for it.
Okay.
In this case, it's because we have to focus so much on the entire group, which rounds me out to Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy 1. There was just so much happening with those 5 people and the various people they come in contact with, plus Nebula, plus kind of sort of Thanos in the background, that we've got no time for. It's just like, oh, he is a Kree militaristic loyalist who likes the old days, whatever those old days were, and he's gonna wreck this planet with his big old hammer.
Yes. And he covers himself in, like, dust. The blood of Xandarians or something like that.
The blood of Xandar, whatever, and there's an Infinity Stone.
Yes. Do you think he was redeemed at all in Captain Marvel? Does that increase
Not
your
really.
enjoyment?
He's like barely there.
Yeah. I was thinking of that myself. You have to go into Guardians now with the Captain Marvel stuff and the Endgame stuff of Thanos being like, oh, Ronan's out of his mind. But I didn't get that at the time. They all seem crazy. So I didn't get that he was that radical.
Yeah.
But now that we've met Kree, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can go from there, but there was no point of reference to get Ronan. And he wasn't really feared besides that that guy that was scared of him with the pawn shop owner.
Right.
Yeah, but for the most part, people don't really care about Ronan. So it was like, yeah, I can
there was just so little going on there. And I think I got more disappointed later when I found out, like, Ronan's not like this villainous character in the books. He's sort of like a teeter on the line kind of guy.
Yeah. My number 1 is a hand in hand with who I feel is the worst, but ultimately the most disappointing. And the movie is also ranked not that high, so I'll just go ahead and say it. I love you, James Spader. But Ultron, I feel like Ultron is the worst MCU villain.
Sir, we agree. Because he's also my number 4.
Oh my God! What? See that? That's now people are obviously going to be yelling directly into this podcast.
I know one particularly.
There are fans of Age of Ultron. There are definitely fans. I'm talking to you, Dan, but there are fans of Age of Ultron out there. So I
don't think Age of Ultron is a bad film. I think it's best. I still say its biggest accomplishment is setting up better films.
And also, the villain is just a personification of a problem within the Avengers.
Yeah.
And mostly a problem with Tony Stark.
Mostly.
And so
most things tend to be in the MCU at the time. So to move his
chess piece, we have to create this. We have to lean and the entirety of Ultron on Iron Man.
Yeah.
You could have put Ant-Man before Age of Ultron as opposed to after, and made it a Pym thing. An old Pym robot or something like that. You understand? But feeding into the Tony ego thing, I did not like him quipping. I wasn't a fan of his.
I think my problem mostly is the quipping, and this is another thing where I still don't quite know how this works. But
you mean when he choked him?
No, no, not that. This thing where we have advertisements that do not match what the actual film is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I hear that oftentimes trailers are outsourced. And I think this maybe is one of those things where the character in the trailer does not in any way reflect the character in the movie.
Yes.
The Ultron that they sort of sell you on in the trailers is kind of scary.
Yes.
In that typical but still frightening, emotionless, cyborg or AI personality would be.
Yeah.
And then you get to it in the film, and he's just like, clearly you've never made an omelet.
Right.
Or he doesn't know what kids are. Despite the fact he has an emotional, informational superhighway going in his brain.
He accidentally cuts off Claw's arm. Yeah. Like in the most, whoops.
It's like, oh, crap, I did that. I'm sorry.
That frustrates me. Like I said, the quipping, the emotive eyes is really, that's really one for me, because I think Comic Book Ultron has the scariest eyes probably in comic book history, because there's no eyes there. They're just these really angry slots that glow red. And we see a little bit of how that scariness looks when he does that first "Ain't No Strings on Me." Right. He takes over the broken Iron Man suit.
Yes.
So much scarier. But
they even put on a creepy version of the song in the trailer.
Yeah. Imagine,
because Disney's like, we own it now.
Imagine if in the first Terminator, Arnold quipped this often. You understand? Like, the reason why you're scared of that thing is it's just this unkillable killing machine that just keeps going forward no matter what.
But also, he's seen Seinfeld.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah, he has references. Don't even get me started. There's a bunch of that going on with Ultron. I think they could have done better. Some people I keep hearing people say that he's not gone. And so
I think that's usually because they're used to like
Ultron never
the depiction
being gone,
of Ultron, where it's just like, as long as he's in the internet, so he can't be gone.
Yeah, and maybe there's space to redeem him, but until then, Mr. Ultron is pretty low on my list of worst.
Right.
And that rounds out your list as well.
Yes, it does.
And let's talk about some best. And my number 5 for best is going to be an underdog. You understand? I don't expect it to be on many people's list.
Oh, yeah?
But I put up the Abomination as my number 5 best. Yes, I like Tim Roth. Okay. He's the only part of the Incredible Hulk that I like. I like that he stood up to the Hulk and then he got kicked in the face and sent through that tree. I liked his addictive nature
with his weird, like, shaky diagonal walk.
Yes, I like the insanity. He felt dangerous to me. He felt like somebody unhinged, which we don't really get with these Marvel characters, where they all feel like they just had a bad day. Where it feels like, to me, Abomination was a bad man. And when you get to you don't get to that Hulk fight unless you have somebody that driven to inject themselves with gamma poisoning, radiation, whatever, and then get to that level. And I think he deserves more than he gets. And a lot of these other villains, to me, stack quite evenly. Okay. And so, besides those that stack evenly, I feel like Abomination rises just a little bit above, and so he's my number 5.
Okay. I'd say my number 5 goes out to... I can't even remember his real name now. I forgot what it was. I just know it is, oh boy, Michael Keaton, who is the Vulture.
Oh, the Vulture. Yes, the Vulture.
I really liked his story. I think I don't relate with it, but it is very relatable. Yes. He's just sort of a victim of the system. Yeah. Of a bunch of guys that were working and taking advantage of a situation of guys, not being able to clean up all the craziness that goes on in a superhero world. Yeah. And using it to just get by, and then the system came around and took it from him. Yeah. In an unfair way, like Tony Stark thinks he's just doing a good thing by running this stuff and putting his money into it, but doesn't see that there's the little guy who's doing this work.
That's the biggest thing, yeah.
And is living off of it.
He's standing up for the little guy, and terrifying. Back to the idea, like all the people on my list are scary. Like they are threatening, and I need that in my villain. Those are the villains that make me stand out to me. And I remember, like the thought that he would just pick up Peter Parker with his clawed talon, fly as far in the air as he can, and then just drop him. And with that character design with just those green dots for eyes.
I was gonna say what I appreciated in the way they shot the Vulture is like they made the Vulture look terrifying in the sense that you never get a good look at him.
Yeah.
So most of your shots of him are from Peter's point of view, where it looks really horrifying because it's just darkness with these big bright green eyes and these
pressure of the wind
and the talons with the rotors on them.
Yeah.
So like you never get a good look at him except when he's gazing right into the camera and there's all sorts of things happening.
Yeah.
So it's like it's monstrous to you because you don't have a scope of what it really is. It's the same idea of not really ever getting a full look at jars. If you just got a full look at it, it's like, oh, it's a shark. I've seen these things.
Yeah. I feel, and I think that Keaton does a good job out of the suit as well. You know, we see him threatening and menacing with Peter, and I buy him. I buy all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he will kill you and everybody you love.
But it's also just as creepy because you see him be nice with his family.
Yes. But I think that's what also makes him a good villain because you know he has something to fight for.
And then he turns so quickly because you're watching that car conversation get real awkward.
Yes.
As he realizes, like, oh, I'm taking this kid and his kid Spider-Man and he's with
Yeah.
It's like, we've been fighting we've got a conversation to have, don't we?
We've been fighting all week. Yeah, that's actually my number 4 is the Vulture.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can go ahead with your number 4.
Number 4, Vulture. Okay, yeah. My number... Who's your number 5 was?
Abomination.
Yeah, right. I'd say my number 4 would be the kind of but not so living planet Ego.
Okay.
Ego resonated with me in a different sense. For one thing, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is probably the movie that got like the most emotional resonance out of me.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of horrible things being explored in that film.
Yes, there were. Definitely.
Almost everyone is sort of a result or a adjacent result of the cycle of abuse. In a sense. The only person who isn't necessarily abused, although you could say so mentally, is like Gamora, but Gamora is very much a witness of it, and and that abuse has affected her relationship with Nebula.
I mean, she ultimately ran away, so she did not like what was going down.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's like, there's a lot of things that happen in that sense. And Ego being the villain that he was, it is so warm for the first hour and a half of that movie.
Yes.
You know, even when there's this...
Kurt Russell's charming, so...
Right. Even that one scene where it looks like there's just this old guy in the background waving.
Yes.
And then it comes right back around to that part of the movie where you never get... You get an odd sense of what's going on, but he never, ever changes that warm, fatherly thing he's trying to do with Peter.
Yeah.
And it's not a rising moment. It's not a slowly turning moment. It just slips right in with, like very, very succinctly slips the knife in that Ego was the one that put the tumor in his mother.
Right, and the way it's said is so nonchalantly that it layers another layer of evil on top of him because it's not something he had to think about. To him. Yeah, it's not something he had to think about.
It wasn't nothing to him because he expresses regret to it.
Yeah,
but him discussing it in such a nonchalant way, it's just sort of just like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
It sucks,
it sucked
but
I had to do it, but I definitely had to do it.
And I'm above it.
Yeah, he just did it so he didn't have to go back.
Right.
And so it's like, you killed my mom, so you don't have to feel like
and I did appreciate the fact that, there was no questioning it. It was an instant reaction.
Oh, my God.
Peter Croce was like, nope, guns.
And watching the stars leave his eyes.
Yeah.
Literally, that's an expression, but literally watching the stars leave his eyes. Oh, amazing. Yeah. I try to get the best form to suit you or whatever. Right. And there were
other things too that I didn't realize until later that sort of like the manipulation of the fact that he is the planet, so technically his ears are everywhere.
Yeah.
So, like, Peter makes the mention to Gamora that he never had a dad to play catch with.
And
so he's very just like, hey, let's catch this magic ball.
Yeah, real sadistic. I mean, the idea that you would use love, for the most part, because he was making these beings fall in love with him.
Yeah.
But the idea that you would weaponize love
right.
to extend your reach, to literally just to toot your own horn, yeah, that definitely goes on the list for evil.
It was just one of those things for me where it's just like, he's such this charming, warm character, only for all that bad stuff to just slip right in all of a sudden, and now it's like, oh, this is worse than we thought.
Yeah, and then when he doesn't get his way, he's literally down for murder.
Yeah.
At first he's down to use his son as a living battery.
Right.
And then down for murder. So yeah, ego.
And then that this has happened apparently several times before.
No, yeah, he deserved that. He deserved his place on
one of my favorite villains.
My number 3 for a villain, so I felt like my 1 and 2 were locked, like when I started this. So I had to think. I
feel like we're gonna be the same on that one.
So I had to think really hard for number 3. And when it comes down to it, I think it just comes down to the rule of cool. And so my number 3 is a man who used to go by the name Sergeant Buchanan Barnes. It's the Winter Soldier, Bucky from Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
I thought about that one, but I had to shift it around a bit myself.
I really dig the design. I dig that weird flight mask and the goggles. As you know, my roommate doesn't care too much for Bucky, let alone Captain America. Mm-hmm. And so we have quite the quarrels here in this household as I look at my humongous Captain America shield, where I'm defending Bucky, I defend Steve defending Bucky,
right,
and the entirety of that. But try to defend Bucky and watch Winter Soldier, because there's a scene of him just walking around, just literally killing people. He throws a grenade at a Quinjet. He has no remorse, no regard. Look at him in that highway scene. Mm-hmm. He cares for nothing. That Terminator.
He launches Sitwell into a truck.
Yes. That Terminator that we speak of when I spoke of Ultron, mm-hmm. This is what that is.
Yes.
And he was unrelenting, no remorse, and what hurt even most is halfway through you get the reveal that it's somebody that Cap knows, mm-hmm. and Cap cares about. And no matter how much he tries, can't get through.
I'll have a lot to say about that later.
But the idea that he could ultimately become a hero, but the very bad that he's done in Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And then ultimately what I guess you could say he's done in Civil War, what we find out in Winter Soldier, of what he's done in Civil War. I had to put Bucky on that list. And before it was Hela grabbing that hammer, it was Bucky grabbing that shield. And that is an iconic moment when you consider,
the catch?
Yeah, when you consider, like, you thought you had this? Yeah, I don't have to run from this. I can stand right where I'm at, and I can let you know that you ain't got nothing on me. And just the relentlessness, even when he took off the mask, he had that like weird smoky Maybelline look that was going on. The knife fighting. We'll gush more when we get to the actually film.
So quick.
When we get to that film, but yeah, Bucky is my number 3.
Winter Soldier is a great choice. You got a medal on?
Yeah,
awesome, dude.
That Russian star on it.
But tying in directly into Winter Soldier, my number 3 actually is an old boy who I know our old buddy Yogi doesn't quite like him because he's so far removed from what he knows.
Okay.
But good old Baron Zemo.
Okay.
Helmut Zemo.
From Civil War. Yeah.
Yes. While you can argue he doesn't get a ton of screen time, I do appreciate the work he does and like his little clandestine covert way to just destroy it from the inside.
Yeah.
And in a sense, he's one of the few villain characters in the entire MCU that actually kind of accomplishes the goal.
You're right. Yeah. I think a lot of people disregard him because of the lack of action.
Yes.
But he is ultimately the chess player.
He is just a silent knife throughout the entire film.
He's definitely a chess player. And when you consider that up until Civil War, that the Avengers had tackled all sorts of threats.
Yes.
Of all kinds of forces.
Punched all kinds of things in the face.
And you have a normal man who literally uses the one thing that they've always fought with, emotion.
Mm-hmm.
The Avengers have always fought with emotion, and all he had to do was put certain people in certain places, and that he knew he could count on a dime.
Yes.
What the reaction would be from these heroes, these paramount people supposed to be better than us. He brought them down to their very human reptilian, instincts, and made them duke it out, and then just sat there and had popcorn.
Nothing but skill and patience.
Like I said again, if it wasn't for Black Panther, grabbing him up at the end, he probably would have gone all the way. He ultimately wanted to kill himself, so I don't know about all that. But Zemo's still in the wind.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened? Maybe a portal opened up in his jail cell and he's gone now. Who knows? Who knows what happened? But yeah, I dig Baron Zemo.
I put that one in the wrong spot. I'm sorry, y'all.
I dig Baron Zemo as not for nothing, he does commit murders. We saw him commit torture.
Yeah. And like there's the dead guy he was impersonating that's left in the tub.
Yeah.
There's the impersonation of Bucky and the bomb, all sorts of things.
He had a bunch of stuff on that dossier that Iron Man.
Oh, the one dude he leaves hanging to drown in that weird contraption.
He had a Hydra. I was like, am I feeling sorry for a Hydra guy? What's going on here?
Right. And I thought his whole position was interesting too, because like he's positioned one way in the comic books, but him in the movie is just like Hydra and Shield were both dumb. Like,
yeah.
I don't care for either of those things.
Yeah.
I've got this one person, and also it's I appreciated one. This is what I mean earlier when I say Age of Ultron's best accomplishment was setting up better films.
Yes.
Because everything that went down in Sokovia did have consequences, even though they quote unquote saved the day.
Yeah.
And that the things that happen in these films when it comes to carnage and whatnot are not how do you say, without casualty.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Even the littlest, like even considering that he got stopped, like ultimately his plan was found out.
Yeah.
And he still made them lose.
Right.
Like it lose so much of it may not be a body count in
the
situation, even though he blew up that damn UN.
Right.
But the losses that they take, you can make the through line. You can say because of Baron Zemo, Thanos wins.
Yes. Absolutely.
In Infinity War.
I made that direct call to someone. I was just like, but because of what he did, and because
with no powers, no stones,
and because his actions split up all of our heroes who ended up on different parts of the globe, we did not have an aligned frontal assault against Thanos, and thus we were like, the divide was already done.
Yeah,
he just did the conquering.
Exactly, and we saw what happens when Thanos does fight the Avengers en masse or all together, and so he definitely put his thumb on that scale there. Yeah, Zemo. He wasn't on my list, but I'm respecting him a little bit more. I'm hoping to get this out of this cast though, so I'm digging it.
Yogi just wants that purple hood.
That's it. He needs to adhesive X, I think it was, that got stuck to his face.
Oh, and then God, that's stupidity.
Oh my God, it's probably just Elmer's glue, Elmer glue, and you can just
Baron Zemo.
That's it. Number 2, like I said, you said our number 1s and 2s might be the same, so let's just get on with it. Number 2 is probably the coolest villain that has come around the Marvel Cinematic Universe in quite some time. One that helped their film reach over $1 billion. I'm going with Eric Killmonger.
Yes, we are. We are of the same ilk there.
So help me just sing the praises of Eric Killmonger. I mean, literally, like I said, cool, ruler cool. He is literally the coolest villain above Bucky. But when I was thinking about villains and just swag, he's up there. His accompanying music is amazing. Mm-hmm. It's like trap, African trap, and stuff like that. Because you got like the regular trap drums, and then you got that guy who's yelling in the background. He's amazing too, by the way. Who's just yelling things in the background. He's upset, and I'm just like, this is so good, so good.
I appreciate the things they did in that film, with the fact that even though he is technically one of them, he is not one of them, because as far as those people in Wakanda are concerned, they are, I guess to put it in a Games of Thrones type of personification, they are the Highborn.
Okay.
They are the Highborn Wakandan royalty.
Yes.
And they are educated a certain way, and they speak a certain way, and even though you find through it all that, like, Eric Killmonger is a very educated dude.
Yeah.
Like, down and dirty who he is like, he grew up in the hood.
Yes.
And the way he speaks and the way he carries himself to those people are just like, ugh.
And to those that are uninitiated, I feel like he's a perfect personification of the identity crisis that African Americans face.
Absolutely.
Because being born African American, and I was born Hispanic, but I'm trying to put myself in that headspace.
It's all good.
Being born African American, and knowing African Americans, I know that the biggest bigot will just say, go back to Africa.
Right.
With no actual tie to that country. It's been probably generations since some of the African Americans in the United States have any ties, back there.
None.
And so when you're constantly told that that's the place you're supposed to go and that's the place that you belong, Killmonger just went with it. He did the scarification, the African scarification on his own body because he knew that he was always owed the Wakandan upbringing. That's what his father told him when he was a young kid.
Right.
And so it's like, this is the land, this is the magical, mystical land that I belong to, but I live here. And I'm treated a certain way because I look like the people there.
Right.
And that really spoke to me.
I'll double down on your point. I'll try to make it brief because I can go along with this. When I grew up as a black man, I always noticed that there were a lot of people around me who carried around some sort of flag.
Okay.
All right. You being Hispanic, you've probably gone over a lot of people who have that flag on them in some way.
Everywhere.
There's a chain of those beads that are done in the flag.
Yes.
I get it with the Dominican and the Puerto Rican people.
Stickers.
The Italians have some sort of thing have some sort of flag on their cars, on their shirts, on their tattoos, all sorts of things. I grew up never seeing one black person with an African flag in my life.
Yeah.
So I always grew up knowing that we were a flagless people in some sense because we are so cut off from what is actually African culture. And say what you will about the fact that some Puerto Ricans have never been back to the island, so they don't really know. Whatever.
But they can still hang their identity on something.
But some of their parents that came from it can still tell them what it was and can still cook like those people and can still educate and talk about pieces of the culture that did come from it. We have none of that.
Right, exactly.
Because of that giant cutoff.
Yep.
So it spoke to me so directly on the massive divide between actual African people and African Americans.
Yeah.
Who I have seen look down on us.
Right.
Because we're just so far removed.
Yeah, from the root.
So it's we only have American flags because this is all we are.
Yeah.
As far as culturally relevant and what we have grown up on and understand, it is its own separate culture or subculture that had to get built up by those free folk and situated over time, which is why it's almost hard to understand what the African American culture is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Except for what's on television, which
so you got an entire group of people feeling disenfranchised because they were pushed out of the American culture because they were not American or not American enough.
Right.
And then they don't
we're not African enough.
They do not feel the identity of Africa. So they create their own world, but like you said, there is no flag.
No.
And at this point in 2019, there's really no leaders. There's really no, there's really no guiding force to be like, well, this is the identity we should uphold. This is what we should do. And you can see, I see Killmonger in the streets for real. Right. I literally see the anger that minorities face, young minority males face when they don't know where they're supposed to go.
Right.
But they know that they deserve more.
Right.
And so who do I get? Who do I go to? Who do I shake to get mine? To get what's more to me? And he went to where his father said he was owed, which is Wakanda.
The concern there is now, and I get it. I saw all the shirts. To some degree, Killmonger was right. Yes.
right.
Yes. But the danger there, of course, is that the radicalization of that...
And the retribution. You shouldn't be going for
the radicalization of retribution is that, you being right means I'm going to, gather all the weapons and kill all the oppressors. Right. Oppressors is soft for the white people. We all know. Listen,
it's I think I'm right. And everyone's like, yeah. And he's like, and I think we should kill everybody who's wrong. And it's like, oh, hold on. Wait, I was with you.
I was here for the rightness and the punch.
And then you choked that lady.
Right.
You choked that old lady who was just gardening. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm down with that.
So responsibly speaking, Killmonger was right, but he wasn't the hero. Let's not get that mixed up.
Right. But Michael B. Jordan, I think, killed it. Definitely worked out for the role.
He said he had to go to therapy after that movie?
I believe it. That headspace is a very dangerous headspace to be in. To feel that old and not know where it comes from. Mm-hmm. And then... both the scene with the where the ancestral plane scene and then after he's stabbed really show you the true Killmonger, the one that really just felt like he was owed more. And once he got that more, Well, first, you see him in the ancestral plane where he's rejecting all the more, right?
Right.
What does it matter? People just die. It is what it is. And then when he dies in front of that sunset, he's like, this was what it was all about.
Yeah.
Like, I was owed, 500 of these sunsets.
Right.
And I could have been sitting right along my fellow Wakandan, the king, and our lives would have been so much different.
But also just the pain of feeling like he knows... and I can imagine what that's like growing up. He knows to some degree what most people don't know growing up, was that there are people who could defend us and are essentially have forgotten about us.
Yeah.
While I'm watching, my friends die in the streets all the time.
Yeah.
And that's painful knowledge to grow up with.
Yeah, it's preservation, for the Wakandans to stay hidden, but in the same sense, it's like there's atrocities going on around the world with people who look like us.
Yeah.
You look like us, but you seem to not even care.
Right.
And that there was a lot of anger, hostility there. I definitely think, he deserves to be on that list. So I let out the cat out of the bag with number 2, so I'll allow you to do number 1.
I guess number 1 is going to be the one we all sort of appreciate, and the one that was there at the end, which is old purple himself, Mr. Thanos.
Yes.
Does he ever have a last name?
No, I think he does actually, but I don't know what it is. Yeah. Because he has family, because when he goes to get the Soul Stone, they're like, Thanos, son of blah blah blah, Gamora, son
I have to go check that.
Son of yada yada,
a daughter of
right. But yeah, man, Thanos. Oh, what I gotta say is relatively short. Everyone was waiting for this man come Infinity War.
Right.
The
guy who essentially apparently wasn't even the plan when Joss Whedon put him in.
Exactly. It was basically an Easter egg, a fun Easter egg, and that character changed from what Joss Whedon wanted it to be.
Oh yeah.
And then changed from who he was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
And so someone with this much hype and with this much
resonance.
Yes, like their reputation precedes them this much. I actually honestly believed it would be impossible to match that.
Destined to fail?
Yes, they have to be. You've talked too much about this man.
Right.
And the swagger, and Infinity War and Endgame are very interesting films when you consider they were filmed together, and when you consider that you have these collection of shots, and they could have went in any order.
Yes.
We could have had the young bladed Thanos go after all the stones, and then the older one is when they fight after the fact, or whatever the heck. But the idea that the one that comes in in Infinity War is such a force. It's so cavalier about all this that's happening. Literally
he just loves to sit down and tell stories.
Besides the Asgardians, he goes out of his way not to kill anyone.
Yeah.
He has fun killing Heimdall and stuff, but that's mostly because Heimdall pissed him off.
And he raises the Nova.
Yes. Yeah, all the Xandar to the ground.
Yeah.
And so he shouldn't have been that big. He shouldn't have been that important, that cool, but he was. The motion capture is amazing. That he feels like a real person, even though he's like 8 feet tall and his hands are about the size of my head. He feels real. The wrinkles on his face, the scars on his face, when he emotes anger, sadness, all of that stuff. It's a testament to everyone who worked in special effects that he feels like a real person.
Right.
And the duality that ultimately when he had to sacrifice his own daughter, and then I really, really dig young brash Thanos from Endgame. The idea that I do this? It's a wrap. I was hyped before I even knew I did this. And you gonna tell me I did this?
Right.
It's over.
I'm the winner.
Oh my God. And coming in with the blood his blade still slick with the blood of everyone, and his armor covered in blood, and just like, oh yeah, I was just hanging out, just dealing with some stuff. Oh, so good. What else do you have to say about Mr. Thanos?
It's such an interesting thing to come across, in the sense that I expected such a larger scale version of the character. I know the one in the comic books is such a boasting, over the top,
short, right? I always felt like he was short in the comics, or at least
he seems drawn really stocky, which makes him feel short. But then he's 4 feet taller than Captain America when they draw it.
Yes, that's true.
So they put him on the covers, and he's just wide, and it looks like it's a scale thing.
Right.
But he comes in as such this hyper intelligent, just calm, collected guy who, like I said, just like he's willing to just tell stories and have these conversations.
Yeah.
About things that he believes in. Like, he just has a whole conversation with Gamora.
Doctor Strange. You don't gotta tell Doctor Strange nothing.
And like it's almost moments where he's acquiescent. Like, he talks about the chair, and Gamora's like, I hated that chair. So he just sits on the steps.
Yeah. Yeah. He's willing to see people halfway because he already knows that he's going all the way with this. Same thing with Strange, like you're saying, like, oh, you want to know? Yeah, I'll let you know. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. No one's asked me.
Let me tell you a story about Titan.
Yeah, you understand? Like, yeah, we can sit here and chat about this. Oh, Tony Stark. Yeah, I know you. You understand? Like, so chill, and then so menacing, and also so menacing at the same time. And him ripping that stone out of Vision, man. Yeah. Like, that was cold. Literally. And then Vision was cold.
Even in the moment where you think he's lost because Scarlet was able to destroy the stone. Yeah. And he's just like, well, I've got this little backup here.
Oh, my God. When he just did that. And I should have known that. I should have put that 2 and 2 together. But when he does that, I literally went, oh, it's over.
You know what's funny about it? You know what's funny about it to me? I think the idea was that they tied in the... Or you are programmed to believe that what Strange does is magic and spells, and there's a science to it that Thanos wouldn't know. Yeah. But Thanos just has the ability to harness the power, and it looks exactly the same.
Yep. And he's like, this is how everyone uses the Time Stone, apparently. Yes. But, yeah, man. There's not going to be a villain like Thanos because there's not going to be enough time to build one up to this point. Well, we'll see. We'll see what Marvel does with these next phase of movies and stuff.
I'm hoping for a really over-the-top, like, ridiculous Doctor Doom.
Yeah, right?
We've tried to ground him, and it doesn't work.
That would be really, really good, a Doctor Doom. People say like Kang, and I wouldn't mind Kang being a villain, but I need something a little bit bigger.
Like, Kang matches up with what they were doing, but I don't want him to be...
Even Norman. You think Norman, they could ever get to Norman Osborn? Do like a Dark Avengers kind of deal?
I'd like a Dark Avengers, but I also like a Thunderbolts. It's whatever. But I don't know if that's the big thing.
Yeah.
If they ever do the big thing again.
But yeah, we've had some of the best and the worst of the worst. But now it's time to get into our list. And you know what? I actually like that volleyball idea. I think that's what we're gonna run with. So what we're gonna do now, between me and GT, is we're gonna name the ones that I feel like fell off our list, because for the most part, you could cut this into 5s and 10s. Okay. But between 22, those two. Let's talk about those last 2 spots. All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll name my numbers 22 and 21. Okay. And then you can do the same, and then we'll do we'll go from there. So, what I feel like is the bottom rung of the MCU, and again, apologies and no apologies for this being where it's at on the list, but I'm going to have to go with The Incredible Hulk. Okay. The Incredible Hulk is on my list. Came out year 2008 on a budget of $150 million. It made $263 million. Mm-hmm. It was directed by Louis Lederer, I want to say. But my problem with The Incredible Hulk is the problem that I feel like is with most Hulk films, and it's the issue that you're constantly waiting for him to do the thing that he doesn't want to do for the entire movie. Add that in, plus I didn't feel like it had that MCU level of comedy. Right. So that there goes up, because you can withstand a certain blah story if they're making you laugh halfway through. I point to like Thor: The Dark World on that. Right. I don't feel like Incredible Hulk had that. I don't think that Norton is an incredibly charming Bruce Banner. Like, I wasn't like, I root for that guy. Like, that guy, I want to like have a beer with that guy.
Which is a shame, because Edward Norton's a very good actor, but it wasn't working that day.
It just. Whatever it was, and he has I think the best thing about him is his build. He has the perfect build for Bruce Banner. But like the leader stuff going nowhere. The Harlem fight's pretty cool, but literally I would just watch the Harlem fight, and when he kicks Abomination into the wall. So that's my number 22.
It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, it's got a scene or two I like, but other than that, I don't want to watch it.
Right. and the thing is, these Marvel movies for the most part are long. Yeah. So unless I'm gonna just go to those scenes, I can't see myself. Heart rate monitor. I can't do it. And for my 21, and I might get some opposition directly across the table. My number 21 is Captain Marvel. Okay. It's high on some people's lists, but to me, it could have just been a 2-hour one shot, because I don't feel like I got anything from it. Sure. I don't, except for like where the Tesseract was, but that's all.
I think that's the trouble with it. And I say this with movies and video games. It's the difficulty of being what I call a bridge film.
Yeah.
Yes. You are sticking something in between two already established continuities, so it can't do much, but it can do a little.
Yeah. And it's weird because they try to tout this film as the Wonder Woman of its day. And Wonder Woman has actual grounds, has actual roots in feminism, in the pro-women.
It was an icon far before anyone took it seriously.
Right. So I already felt kind of weird about them touting Captain Marvel in the same way because we had a whole episode talking about how convoluted her backstory was and all that stuff. And now all of a sudden they got it. And even in getting it, they still cut it up a bit. Yes. They cut up a bunch to fit the MCU. So,
which could be both to its detriment and to its help.
I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert of my list. Winter Soldier's high on my list. And when you take a line from Winter Soldier and make it a gag in your movie, you're going to raise the ire of George Serrano, a.k.a. the Don. And so
I argue they either never had a plan for it or this was always the plan.
I don't think they ever had a plan for it.
I believe that too. I believe it was just a line and they never had a plan to actually resolve that line.
Yeah. And I don't think Jan Rog was great. I think that anyone would have been in the same position. Anyone lying to her would have been in the same position.
Sure.
It's a movie that asks you to, like, what would you do in that situation, but doesn't really have a definitive, this is what you should do. Like, this is what, and so it's number 21 for me, but okay. I suspect it might be higher for you, but let me hear your number 22 and 21. The ones that you can cut, the crust that you can cut off the Marvel Cinematic sandwich.
22 is the same as yours. It's The Incredible Hulk.
Woo!
I just do not care for that movie. I can tell you how much I don't care about that movie in one story.
Dan is an unabashed fan of that movie, but yeah, I don't get it. And I love you, Dan. But
Dan's got some interesting outlooks.
Let me hear that story.
When Infinity War came out, we did the big marathon, which I think at the time was only like maybe 16 movies. Not because all of them, but because like they only did a few movies for the marathon.
Yeah.
At AMC. We got there, and very first one, we sat down, we were all going to have some fun. It was Iron Man 1. It was like, yeah, I hadn't seen Iron Man 1 in years, so it was kind of a cool experience. It's also been years after, but I had already gotten into soundtracks, so, like, it was cool hearing the soundtracks I'd been listening to read the book.
And those things ain't easy. You were telling me.
No,
those sittings are not, like... I mean, it's your media, like, is what you like.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot of what you like. It's a bathtub full of ice cream.
No, absolutely, absolutely it was. So we got there, and Iron Man 1 played, and we enjoyed it. We all had a great time, and we all looked at our little lanyard cards. I was like, "What's next? Oh, Incredible Hulk. You want to go to McDonald's? You just got here? Yeah, let's go something to eat. Okay." And we came back to watch Captain America.
Yeah. So it's
like,
the
nope.
pee break of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I was like, we just got here. Rich was like, yep, let's go get something to eat. Let's get some food.
Does it speak at all to how much, like, do you feel like you resonate more with Mark Ruffalo?
No, I don't. I think a lot of the problem is, and I don't want to make this a pitch because I'm not great at that yet, although I've been pitching the episode for that. We need Dan. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
My issue with Incredible Hulk is the same thing you pretty much said. It always becomes a 2-hour movie of a bunch of people who came to see one thing, and that's the Hulk. And this character in the movie doesn't want to give you that because the Hulk is a bad thing.
Right, exactly.
So...
And we shouldn't want it, but that's the only thing that you're giving. That's the entire promotion material. Right. Come see the Hulk.
Right. The Incredible Hulk. Roar. Big green monster.
I don't want to be the Hulk.
No, I don't want to hurt people.
Yeah,
it makes me sad. Yeah. So like it's an entire movie of everyone trying to teach this guy how to not be the Hulk. We paid Hicks and Gracie to teach him not to be the Hulk.
Yeah,
we do all these things, and of course he eventually does. They'll do whatever,
as he always will.
Yeah, he always eventually will. But
imagine that movie. Whew, I successfully went 2 hours without being the Hulk.
Right.
Credits.
It just makes us more depressed because it's just like, oh man, this dude like can't like have sex with his girlfriend because he's afraid the heart rate will Hulk him out. And I don't think a Hulk movie, if you're doing it and you want to take the world seriously as you do, you can't make a Hulk movie on Earth.
Okay.
Because if you want him to reach the levels of Hulkness that you like want to see, like you kind of have to think about the fact that there is repercussions to it. So like you can, I mean, it sounds mean, but like you can put him on a planet full of other alien folks, and like no one cares if he cracks a planet in half somewhere else.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like when you put it on Earth, then it's like, okay, wait, he destroyed cities. Like that could have been my cousin, and like they should be looking for this guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't work to me.
So
people who were waiting for the Hulk to like do that, whether it was World Breaker or whatever, like there was no way to do it without massive consequences.
Yeah.
And making Bruce Banner a level 1 fugitive.
It also doesn't feel like it belongs in the world, and it was a pretty early world when it started. But it also,
I think most people don't remember it is.
Yeah. I have to tell people, and it's a whole story. It's like, but that's not. Yeah, I know it's not. Yeah. It's not Mark Ruffalo, but that Hulk still counts.
The only thing tying it to the rest of the universe is Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross. Yeah.
His old self.
Exactly.
Number 21 is boy, we were just talking about earlier, which is Iron Man 3.
Okay.
Oh Lord, okay. I hate me some Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of that is on the fact that they set me up for this movie. I really liked the sound of it, and then they gave me another one, and I didn't like the taste of it.
Okay.
I came here for hamburgers. You gave me fish. I didn't want fish.
Oh, hamburgers.
Right. Cheeseburgers. Whatever.
Definitely.
And then you counter the fact that apparently it's this weird continuity like logic jump, because it's like at the end of Iron Man 3 he destroys all the suits, but at Age of Ultron he's like, I got all the suits again, y'all.
Yeah, he's made robots and he's got his own suit, still trying to build the suit of armor. Yeah, a lot of it doesn't make sense. Iron Man 3, it just sucks because it feels like a cash grab, and not only does it feel like a cash grab, the thing made $1.2 billion. So
right.
I mean, it literally
kind of a pretty good cash grab.
All the cash. So I'll round out our
22 and 21.
Yes, so now I'm going to go from 20 to 15.
Okay.
And so 19 and 20 I can pair together, unfortunately.
Really?
Yes, because 19 and 20 are number 20 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and number 19 is Ant-Man.
You that's interesting. You put the first one higher than the second one.
I do like the first one more.
Okay.
I felt like it was more genuinely funny, but that's probably because the first one had a lot of the skeletons still created by Edgar Wright.
Right.
Where I feel like the second was Edgar Wright light, in my opinion, and then you throw in a non sequitur like Ghost.
Okay.
And then whoever the heck Walter Goggins was, whatever that was.
He's movie villain Walter Goggins.
And I feel like a big problem with Ant-Man and the Wasp is it literally falls, like it, almost everything in that movie comes to consequences, means, or it comes to, what's it happen when two things happen at the same time? Coincidence.
Coincidence,
I said consequence. Coincidence. Like that night is the night that Janet goes into his head, so that's when he goes to get Hope. But Hope is already coming to get him.
Right.
And the suit doesn't work. This one has malfunctions, and so that just adds to the hilarity of shrinking and getting tall. I like these films. Again, I like every Marvel film, but it's just gonna go a bit lower on that list.
Sure.
So number 18, where I have nothing else to say about, is Iron Man 3.
Okay.
Number 17 is Thor: The Dark World.
All right.
I think people just need to understand that I put Thor: The Dark World both Ant-Man's, Captain Marvel, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 3. It's not as bad as people say it is.
No.
I don't think Thor: The Dark World is as bad as people say it is.
It's like a real good Yankees lineup. Someone's got to bat 9.
Exactly. And Loki's still in it, so he's great. Hemsworth is in it, he's great. I like the human element of it, and it's actually less of it here because we get more of actual Asgard.
Yes.
Hemdog gets a badass moment in it.
Right.
Malekith is on my list for worst villains, but the rest of that story I feel like puts it on my list right there at number 17. Number 16, and I already feel your hands around my throat strangling me, is Doctor Strange. And I can't really tell you why Doctor Strange is on number 16 on my list. Besides the fact that I probably just didn't
except for maybe the emptiness of Caecilius, which we both kind of spoke to.
But I also feel like I couldn't resonate with him. I thought he was cool.
Really?
Like a cool friend of mine. I'm not into this stuff. Like a cool friend that does CrossFit. It's like, I'm not into what you do, but I dig you. I'm not really into what you do, but the movie's effects. I love Tilda Swinton, and I do think Cumberbatch is great as Doctor Strange, but this is really Sophie's choice when we play this kind of list kind of thing.
Sure.
And he just landed where he landed there. And then to round out my number 15, the lowest ranking for an Avengers film is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Okay.
And number 15, which I already spoke about with great length with Vision. With Ultron, the only thing I have to say is I feel like it served way too many masters. Mm-hmm. They were trying to do way too much. It's literally the film that broke Joss Whedon.
Right.
Because they tried to make 18 films into one film, and then he went on to make 2 films into one film with Justice League. My man is having a hard time over there. You understand? Yeah. But killing Quicksilver.
He's gonna go back. He's gonna end up going back to TV was easier than this.
You understand?
Let's just make another Buffy.
Come on, y'all want Buffy? Don't y'all want Buffy? I killing Quicksilver felt like there was no need to do that with that. Right. I feel like they wasted Baron von Strucker in the kind of throwaway thing. They kind of threw away the whole Loki scepter thing. Oh, by the way, it's an Infinity Stone. Like, yeah. By the way, because we're running out of movies to stick these things into. Right. So here's that, and also here's a vague understanding of the Infinity Stones via Thor's hot tub bath thing, and it's just too much.
Lightning bath.
Yeah, we're gonna tease Civil War. We're gonna tease Infinity War. We're gonna tease. It's way too much for me. So, yeah, Avengers Age of Ultron rounds it out at my 15. So, to give you guys just another recap, from 20 to 15, starting at 20 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, then Ant-Man, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Doctor Strange, and Avengers Age of Ultron.
Alrighty. Okay, so we go 19, 18, 19, 18.
Yes, so what's your number 20 looking like?
My number 20 is Ant-Man, honestly.
Oh, okay.
It was an entertaining movie, but overall just an empty experience for me.
It doesn't feel heroic.
Maybe not. It's taken me a while to come around to,
the charms of
not just Scott Lang.
Okay.
And maybe that's it too. Maybe it's kind of like because he's sort of a bumbling hero to me.
Yeah.
Or whatnot. And you know what it is? I almost want to go back to rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp for one particular reason, and that is because like I did not feel any emotional connection or resonance with Scott Lang until like Endgame, when he gets to the scene where he's just rushing home to see if his daughter's still alive.
Scene. That was a really good scene.
It was, and I was just like, okay, like I'm trying to see Ant-Man as this sort of cool or exciting superhero instead of like kind of what he is, which is just like a father trying to make this thing work.
Yeah.
Even though he's got a history of like he's sort of a lowlife, sort of.
I don't think the characterization is really that strong with Scott Lang.
No, it's
not.
You
can't tell me what he wants besides his family, which is, I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
But like, there's really no other it there, and we have so many rich characters. Like when you talk about just Tony Stark and Iron Man alone, right?
Yes.
Like who want things and they don't want things and they change their mind and then they don't want this but they'll sacrifice, and I don't feel any of that with Ant-Man.
Ant-Man is just like this guy who falls into superherodom because like he goes to steal the suit and
he's Big Lebowski. He's the one. Yeah, he literally just falls into the Avengers.
Pam knows about it and he just mentors him through whatever, and like it didn't grip a hold of me that he's, you know, this just guy who's just trying to connect with his daughter and do right by his kid.
Yeah.
It really does not resonate to me until that scene in Endgame where he's just like, where's my kid? Where's Cassie?
Yeah.
And he's so worried that Cassie's on the tomb, on the
that was actually really good.
The brick.
Yeah, the memorials.
And it said like, what do you mean? I'm not. I'm right
here.
Yeah,
why does it say Scott Lang?
I'm not dead.
That's me. That's my name.
No one knows who I am, but it's me.
Another thing I think hangs on these films is the idea that we've seen tech-based heroes before.
Yes.
And they're much better when the tech-based hero is inept.
Right.
it's very weird that he like kind of doesn't know, and so he goes through like the boot camp of it. But even through Ant-Man and the Wasp, he still doesn't really get it. Like he still doesn't really know, and it's crazy that you have Hank Pym there, the actual original Ant-Man. Right. He knows everything.
And Janet is already so much better than him.
Right.
Even though she got the suit after he did.
Yeah. And so, it really does not serve that character.
She gets the cooler gadgets because they trust her with it.
Yeah, she can fly. It's ridiculous.
So
who's your 19?
Not that. 19 is Iron Man 2.
Woo! You were not loving the Iron Man movie.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I don't blame you.
No, it wasn't. Iron Man 1 is great, and then it just hit these two big walls, and amazingly, Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark is just so good that he just rises above it in everyone else's films and in the Avengers films.
It's true.
But like, for whatever reason, they just couldn't make those Iron Man movies really work for me after number 1. We spoke on Whiplash already. There's a few things with Pepper Potts that just like aren't really as great as they could have been.
Yeah.
The new Rhodey gets you kind of weird. They wanna dip their toe into drinking problem Tony, but not like really get in the water.
You know what I think that actually my biggest problem with that movie is? I feel like it's stuffed. It's just like Age of Ultron where it's incredibly stuffed. Yeah. There was no need for that synthesizing a new element part of that film. Right. I mean, I guess you could tie it to the toxicology of what's going on with his chest thing, but like that, I feel like that was a lot. Like the whole diagram, and then you got to go look through the tapes. Like that is so much off of the Whiplash stuff, which is so much off of the Hammer stuff, which is so much off of the starting the Avengers Initiative stuff.
Yes.
That it literally feels like 4 or 5 different films.
And then we just wound right back out to more big gray suits.
Yes. And a battle that takes forever, but then they press a button and lasers go around and behead everybody, and the fight's over. And it's like we couldn't just leave with that.
And then it seems like he doesn't even defeat Vanko. Vanko just kind of kills himself.
Yes.
It's just like, what happened in this movie?
Not great.
Number 18 is Thor.
Woo, Thor.
I don't dislike Thor, but
okay.
it does not give me enough of the things.
It does not bring you joy.
It does not spark joy.
It does not spark joy.
It does not bring me enough of the things I came to a Thor movie for.
Okay.
Which is the uniqueness that Thor brings to anything that you write about here, which is like the Asgard stuff and the kind of like space Viking warriors and all that. To some degree, the magical mythology of it all. They do the correct story, which is him going to Earth and becoming worthy by like learning these lessons and having a respect for not just humanity but just other people. Mm-hmm. You know, sort of like a highborn having a respect for lower. I guess like lower.
Like amused.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Amused.
Right, and coming to respect these people. And, like, the whole idea is that he can be a king because he respects the people and thus he can treat them fairly.
Yes.
The story is good. I just want more Thor.
Yeah, I get you.
You get a little bit in the beginning and a little bit in the end, and the rest of it is Dr. Donald Blake or whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of Selvig. Yeah, a whole lot of Selvig.
Which is
in that.
funny.
Yeah.
And Thor is funny being the fish out of water with the smashing of the cup. And Kat Dennings is nice to look at, and Natalie Portman clearly doesn't want to be there. And
it feels like a very 2004 5 superhero film.
Yeah, and
where we gotta do more stuff to pad out everybody else,
right?
Because we don't want to get into the specifics of this character.
And if you know better, you're kind of just like, oh, that's like a fake version of Broxton, but sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the most unpacked Boston I've ever seen in my life.
Right. So
not great.
It really left me like, okay, so that's his origin. Cool. I can't wait till we actually do more Thor stuff in the sequel.
Yeah.
Boy, did that go well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Thor: The Dark World, really quickly, I also really like that whole portal combat stuff. Like portal combat, where the Mjolnir is going into the realms. I mean, they played with the realms.
Yes.
They played with the idea of the convergence of the realms.
Yes,
like,
they did.
That should have been a slam dunk, but again, they didn't set up enough of that in first Thor.
Right.
For us to understand. All we knew about was Jotunheim.
Jotunheim.
Yes. Jotunheim.
I'll teach
Ice
you.
Giants.
I'll teach you as much as I can about the
the realms, the 9 realms.
The pronunciations, which can get people all sorts of,
Kat Dennings. We're gonna do our War of the Realms cast. Hopefully when all this is said
Kat
and done.
Dennings and her meow meow. Meow meow. Number 17 was Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
I think it's better than Ant-Man, but I just like
You also think it's better than Iron Man 2?
I enjoyed it more.
Okay.
And I think that's just because, like, it probably it made me laugh a little bit more. Like,
okay.
I how can you not laugh at giant Hello Kitty Pez dispenser?
Yeah. Yeah. It's what's weird is I have Ant-Man above Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I prefer Hope in Ant-Man and the Wasp way, like...
Oh, do you?
Way more than in regular Ant-Man.
Wait, Hope?
Van Dyne. Because Janet's the mother.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah. So Hope...
Why did I give her a different...
That's a whole nother... They didn't want you on the set.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I do think she's a lot more, a lot better in this movie. Maybe it's just because, like, there's not a bunch of that I hate Scott Lang and why won't you let me do the thing. And
my dad, like, I have this thing with my dad. I have daddy issues, and then, there's a lot going on. So we got enough daddy issues in the MCU.
Seriously, freaking Guardians 2 is all daddy issues.
You know?
Number 16 is Thor: The Dark World.
Okay.
I
had 17. That was very close.
I enjoy the movie. It's got a lot of things I like. The portal gimmick with the hammer is cool. Some of the emotions and the issues that Thor goes through is enjoyable for me. I enjoy the fact that it is the building blocks of Thor and Loki rebuilding their relationship despite Loki still being a dick.
Yes.
But
at every turn, he's still trying to lie and cut his arm off and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. But Malekith is the weakest villain in the entire MCU, and there's just a lot of moments that could have been cut out. I think we could have had a slightly better movie if we didn't have to force Jane Foster and the Infinity Stone into it.
I agree.
If we took all the time that we had, I mean, really, you could have just used the Infinity Stone and the Ether in its own way without forcing Jane Foster into it.
Yeah.
I think if you cut out a lot of the Jane Foster scenes and just add more Malekith, we could have had a better film.
And that's the thing. By the time you get to Infinity War, we still don't know where the Soul Stone is, and they just put it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, they could have just put the Ether somewhere. You know.
Right. Matter of fact, what's the last movie that has an Infinity Stone before Infinity War?
The Time Stone in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and that's right after.
And they shoved that in the Eye Agamotto, which has always been a comic book thing.
Right.
They just shoved an Infinity Stone in it, and it's like, that's why it can do what it does.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, well, Eye Agamotto, it can work without it. Like, it's always worked without it. It's always been a relic.
Although it does give them a nice sort of cosmic importance that the magicians have always been, protecting the Time Stone from all sorts of things.
It's the same way they shoved the Cosmic Cube and the Tesseract into one.
Yeah, is Tesseract a thing?
I don't think Tesseract is a thing. Cosmic Cube is a thing, and it looks exactly the same.
Right, and everyone who knows it's the Cosmic Cube, but like I'm sure the writers are just like, we can't just say Cosmic Cube.
No one's gonna want it. Yeah, no one's gonna want it. Yeah, this is dumb.
Like, what do they call this magic? The Cosmic Cube. Like, was it named by children?
One more thing about Thor: The Dark World. I really, 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 really like. My favorite scene from that film is actually one without any action. It's the funeral for Frigga.
Yes.
I think it's very beautiful. I think the score is amazing.
Right.
And even though it's a millisecond of a scene, the reaction of Loki, where he just like magics everything.
Yeah. It's
so good, and it's silent. You can't hear it. Oh,
but you can feel there's no facial expression because his back's to the camera. There's no music. There's no sound. But like,
and this is somebody that's not shaken by this. Who cares? I threatened my family. I threatened to kill my father. I'll kill Thor. Who cares about any of this? And then who's dead? Like, I get goosebumps just thinking about it because we never saw that much emotion from Loki. You've never seen him that rattled, and that was a good part in another otherwise probably not great film.
Yes. Number 15. That's what we're going up to, right?
Yes.
Yes, number 15 for me is Captain Marvel.
Okay.
I like Captain Marvel. I like the character a lot. I enjoyed the movie. I do agree it's very light, and I partly put that on it being a bridge film because there's only so much you could do with it.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have... maybe some people argue it could have been written better. Some of the reviews I get, or some of the opinions I get are skewed with a lot of social politics that are just dumb, and I don't care for.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the story of the idea that she's not truly as powerful as she could possibly ever be until she finds out who she truly is. And I think that's something that resonates with me, and I think it resonates with a lot of people. I think it resonates with a lot of women who need to find out who they truly are and own that strength. Because that's the crux of the entire thing. Until she finds out who she truly is and accepts it, she isn't nearly as strong as she can be.
And stop letting
and
guys
then she goes cosmic and runs through ships.
And stop letting guys tell you you're emotional.
Yes.
You're too hysterical. That's not a thing.
And being told you need to smile.
You're entitled to your emotions. And if you want to go ahead and play No Doubt's Just a Girl, you can do that too.
if I'd rather you not, but that's fine. Annette Bening does a fun job playing the physical embodiment of the
Supreme Intelligence.
The Supreme Intelligence, yes. As well as being Marvel.
Yeah.
The introduction. I really like her stuff with Monica Rambeau.
Yeah.
Like, those were some warm moments.
I like her stuff with the little one, too. Marie? Yeah.
Maria Rambeau.
Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Maria is the older one.
I say yes, you're right. Maria Rambeau's the mother and Monica's the kid.
Yes.
And up until that time, which I will say is maybe a detriment or something you're waiting for, like, it's one of the few warm moments in the film because she's still, like, she doesn't know Nick Fury that well, and the stuff on the other planets is just, like, mission-based and her being trapped and destroying all the Skrull guys.
Yeah.
So, like, it's the first time you get, like, a real moment of character for her because she has someone, even though she doesn't completely remember it, she has some warmth with the kid, and she gets to talk with her old best friend, and again, it's the process of finding herself and who she really is.
Yeah. You know what? Now that you've said it, I think that's what my issue is with the film, is that it took too long to get to the heart.
Yeah,
everyone is very cold for the rest of that film because she doesn't emote because she thinks she's a trained warrior. Right. Jan Rog ain't got nothing to emote about. The Skrulls, they're not trying to show you what they're trying to do. And so an hour and a half goes in, and we still
until
don't
you
get
to
the
like
heart
Nick Fury,
of the story.
who's the only one who has the personality for a while.
the heart of it. But I will say that what put this film above Incredible Hulk,
the film doesn't pick up until they get to the house.
Yes. What puts this film in front of Incredible Hulk for me is Mads. I'm not. Not Mads. I was gonna say it again. Now I'm blanking and I'm getting extremely angry.
Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. Not Mads Mikkelsen. Ben Mendelsohn. Amazing.
Yes.
That character portrayal, amazing. Legit laughs for me. And I think I've heard every joke in the world every time I see these Marvel movies. I'm like, they can't get me. And then they do. Like, he was so great in that. And he legitimately seems somebody labored by this eternal war. And that's what it is. That's the one thing they got right. This Kree Skrull thing is eternal. And the weight of that
appreciated I almost called it a bait and switch. It's not. I appreciated the subversion that, like, the Skrulls were just the good guys.
Yeah. And I don't think that's clean cut either. I think we're gonna go back around again.
We just might. But I like the idea. I like that whole thing where, like, the Skrull guys are just trying to get away and find a home.
Yeah.
Especially since we've already established that the Kree sucked.
Yeah, that line delivery where she's like, "How do I know you're not just trying? How do I know you're not trying to whatever?" He's like, "I'm just trying to go home." I was like, "Oh, poor Skrulls."
You're supposed to know that. You're my space guy.
Poor Skrulls. All right.
So 14 to.
Yeah. So now we'll go 14 to 10, and then we'll do our top 10. We'll do 10 to 3.
10 to 3. Okay.
And then do our final 3. So
let's get it.
Let's go. My number 14 is Thor. Like you said, I actually like Thor more than Thor: The Dark World, only because two things. One, I feel that if Hemsworth had a little bit of the confidence he had in Ragnarok, that Thor movie would have knocked it out of the park because you get a lot of that, like, give me a rabbit to ride or whatever like that, and more. I want, this drink was great, another, and smashing it on the ground. Like, there's a lot of that there, and if he had that confidence, he didn't have at the time, man.
Right.
You can see it in his eyes when you watch it.
It's just weird.
He doesn't know what he's supposed to bring to this, how serious he's supposed to be, how funny he's supposed to be, and it really puts him in this.
Am I a serious Viking space warrior, or am I a comedic, fish out of water, or am I doing both?
It's the genesis of Loki. It's the beginnings of what you know of that character. So I think it's worth seeing just for that. Thor trying to pick up Mjolnir, not being able to, and then him just basically crying while a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. people are like, this weird guy just beat us all up, and then he went into the middle, tried to grab the hammer, couldn't, started to cry, and now we're just gonna lock him up again. That's
also Hawkeye holding a bow for 10 minutes, which you're not supposed to do, and he's just like, do I take the shot?
The Destroyer is a non-villain, really, and then he fights Loki later on the Rainbow Bridge. The shattering of the Rainbow Bridge is pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
The Bifrost, the shattering of the Bifrost, I thought was cool. But ultimately, you know what I love about this movie, that unworthy scene, bro.
Yes.
Sir Anthony Hopkins going to the Shakespeare School of Acting, just reading Thor down. You are a foolish and cruel boy. Like that. Like I've never heard a father say that to his son.
Yeah.
Like, you're foolish and you're cruel. Like you're just a bad child. Yes. I was like, wow.
Cruel boy.
Yes, the way he delivered that line. Oh my God, so good. So Thor's my number 14.
You have unleashed on these realms the sudden and desolation of war.
And when you've seen all these films, and when you go back and you see that scene again, he's right.
Yeah,
he's right. You don't know what you've done here. There's a very weird balance between dwarves and giants and elves, and the Asgardians, and it's not perfect, but it's quiet.
Right.
And you just ran, and lightning and thunder, and you're gonna bring this whole thing down on us.
And then Ragnarok pretty much reveals how much he's been hiding from his family about the wars.
And also that the tease of him being crowned king.
Yeah.
He's gonna get crowned king, and then Loki does the thing in the background, so he's not, and Thor's like, no, give it to me. No, come on, you're right there. You're right there. Just give it to me. Oh, really, really good. So that's my number 14. 14, right. Yeah, my number 14. My number 13 is Iron Man 2. I put now Iron Man 2 at number 13 because I think that Robert Downey Jr. elevates a lot of it. I really like, it's probably my favorite Black Widow. Really? Until you get to like Winter Soldier.
Okay.
It's my favorite Black Widow in Phase 1.
Okay.
It's my favorite Black Widow in Phase 1.
It's the only one, I think.
You got Avengers.
Except for Avengers,
Avengers, where she just has like lightning sticks. But she, I dig her.
Space whales. I've got a pistol. I'm gonna make it work.
I see that camera spinning around. I gotta do something. Yeah, so she's real good in it. I love Happy in it. You're right. The on and off stuff with Pepper, it gets a little tiring. But Justin Hammer, bro. Justin Hammer trying to trick the Russian. I got you a new bird. Like, what do you mean? Hey, you said these are gonna be suits, not drones. Where's the helmet? I can't put it on. I cannot put this on. It's not a helmet. All that stuff is great, and that dance he does at the expo where he walked out in the expo, and it gives us Peter Parker. It gives us.
If you really want to just rest on that, sure. Still not giving any of them.
And it gives us Peter Parker, and it's our first look at War Machine as well. So
it is, yes.
Number 13.
Well, our first look that of War Machine in combat, not Terrence Howard in The Next Time That Never Comes.
These next three, my 12, 11, and 10, all could have been in the top 10.
Okay.
Literally, you know how this goes at this point. But my number 12, directed by Joe Johnston, is Captain America: The First Avenger.
Okay.
My beef with First Avenger, obviously I like it because it's high on the list, but my beef with it is that I feel like everything that I wanted to see was montaged.
Oh.
And I was like, wait, so this is just this is the heroic part of it. But you needed a lot of Skinny Steve.
Right.
If you don't have Skinny Steve in the beginning of this trilogy, and then the beginning of this universe, you don't get the gravitas that you get at the end of Endgame.
Right.
And so I'll completely understand that, but because of that, and because I felt like they could have done a more Red Skull. The design is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hydra's cool, not in that sense, but them going to that place in Scotland to get it was real cool. Yes, was real cool. I like Peggy Carter in it. I like Howard Stark. It's my favorite Howard Stark.
Is it
Dominic?
Oh yeah, yes.
Something or other. I like that Howard Stark the most. And Bucky. Just the moments with him and Bucky, and when you realize that this guy's gonna become a cybernetic serial killer.
Dominic Cooper.
It's gonna become a cybernetic serial killer. It puts it up there. But everything ahead of it is very solid. So with it just being a little bit less than solid, it rounds out number 12. Number 11, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Okay.
Spider-Man: Homecoming. I sat here and I tried to decide whether or not I was gonna put it in the top 10, but ultimately I'm still waiting for a little bit more from Peter Parker. I feel like it was enjoyable, but Spider-Verse, bro. But Spider-Verse, like, we've seen the Peter Parker story so often, and I'm not saying any Peter Parker story can't break this top 10, but you're gonna have to. I need more. I need a little bit more. The emotional gravity of some of the other films on this top 10 easily outweigh Homecoming, in my opinion.
Right.
Just the pure. Literally, I'm looking at my top 10 now. People go through some stuff in this, and I feel like Peter kind of didn't. He just went through what he went through while Iron Man, it's like Iron Man's day out. You understand? Like, this is what this movie felt like to me. Iron Man's the father, and he just, I'm going on vacation. Don't destroy anything. And then Homecoming happens, and then Iron Man fixes it. You're an Avenger now. We're going to space. So yeah, I really, really like Spider-Man Homecoming, but that's where that's gonna go for there. So my I guess my 14 up would be, just to let y'all know, is Thor, Iron Man 2, Captain America, and Spider-Man.
Okay. All right. So what are we doing?
14 to 11.
14 to 11. Number 14 for me was Thor Ragnarok.
Ooh.
This is higher on a lot of people's lists. It's not as high for mine.
How do you feel about people going top 3 with it?
That is your choice. This is a subjective medium.
Yes, definitely.
We all take different things out of these films than most people.
Yes,
I will always concede that Thor Ragnarok is a very entertaining film. I laughed all throughout my first viewing of it, right? Mm-hmm. But it still takes one of my favorite characters and somebody who I wanted to see grow from what they did in the second film and just, like, completely turns it on its head, which is something a lot of people wanted and something I didn't. So Thor just becomes this sort of, like, buffoon-esque comedy character.
Okay.
But is also really powerful.
Yes. What does worse to the Thor character, Endgame or Ragnarok?
I'd say Ragnarok, because I'd argue that the Ragnarok is the genesis of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And cultivated this version of it.
Okay.
I said this in our little chat room, which is like my experience with the entire film pretty much boils down to waiting for Odin to kind of turn to the screen and say live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Yeah, it felt like a skit to you the entire time.
So while a lot of things are funny and the Doctor Strange cameo was fantastic.
Yes, yeah, really good.
It was hard to watch one of my favorite characters be regulated to this such buffoonery comedy, and it almost elevates so many other characters around him higher than him. Like, I'm fine with Loki being a buffoon because it's kind of a part of his charm. Because he's never all that, like, he's not the strongest guy, and then most of his charm is in, like, his gab and his personality anyway. Yeah. Like, they don't even get that deep into the magic Loki does.
No.
Like,
he does magic, but they never...
It's always kind of the same... Am I here? Nope, I'm behind you.
Yeah, that's it.
That sort of trickery.
Illusions, is it?
Yeah. So, I get that with him. And it rose Valkyrie's profile from a character most people didn't even hear of to, like, someone really cool.
Yeah.
And well-liked. So, it does a lot of great things. It uses Immigrant Song in a fantastic way, and it's got some really cool fight scenes. I don't care for what it did to my main character.
I understand.
Number 13... if I can keep track of these numbers, because I'm terrible at it for some reason today. Right. Number 13 for me was Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming is another film for me, which is just... I had a lot of fun watching it. I came out of it a little empty.
Yeah.
I think it's just... it's not a film that has a ton of gravitas.
Yeah. It's
got a good story with a great villain. Peter's very enjoyable. His cast is very enjoyable. The MJ is fine. Ned Leeds, a.k.a. it's Genki. You want to know it's Genki.
And the man in the chair, yeah.
Yeah, Genki's fun. Even the school staff is kind of fun. His principal is Morita's kid. That's always great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that.
That was really good.
Shout out to First Avenger.
And what's his face is in it? Hannibal Buress is in it.
Yeah, he is. Hannibal Buress is funny. The Captain America cameo is a meme that still runs these days.
Yeah.
It does a lot of good things, but it's not the strongest film.
Yeah.
It's just a film I can watch every once in a while when I I just want to have a little fun and watch Spider-Man be Spider-Man. I'll say this, even though I've come up with Spider-Man always as an adult from the cartoons and whatnot, at least college level or college age, like they capture the idea of a child Spider-Man very well. So I think a lot of people are really happy about that. Yeah. And that's great. It's not the one I've always known. Yeah. So, like, I get it. Spider-Man's always been like a 50-year-old kid. The cartoon dude sounds like a grown man.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
And so does Tobey Maguire.
They're all about 30 when they said that.
Right. But no, like it's a good film. It's probably going to lead to a better film. We'll see what happens with Far From Home. It's got a lesson that the next movies completely step on now.
Oh, about being neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
he's an intergalactic.
I'm not gonna join the Avengers. I'm just gonna be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Next movie, Spider-Man fights Thanos.
Yep. Now he's a galactic multiverse Spider-Man.
It's just like, well, so much for that lesson, right?
All that just happened overnight, I guess.
Yeah. They even make fun of it in the trailer. Number 12 is Avengers: Age of Ultron. We've spoken mostly at length about this movie. The villain is just so creepy that it ruins any tension of the film.
Which is a shame.
It really is. Vision's cool. Vision lifting the hammer is interesting. It sets up so much for the future films that it's great. I think there's a lot of great character interaction in the film.
Okay.
I think a lot of the stuff all the characters go through each other. Even the scene where they're all drinking in the after party is really good. Yeah. And
Boom,
now
looking for this.
Right. And now they even keep tying up the scene where Cap doesn't lift the hammer. Yeah. They're even tying back to that now.
Because Whedon won't. So they're like, you know what? If what it looked like to me was...
Right.
I really like that.
So...
They added another layer of...
So now it's, Cap knew he could, but didn't.
He didn't want to. But it's like, that was always my reading of it. My reading of it was that he saw Thor's face. And he was like... I can't. Who can?
Right. And this might ruin Thor's worldview, and we need him.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when he saw Vision do it, he's like, "Oh, we could just do it." It's just a thing.
Right. Number 11 is...
So, I want to stress that this was right out of your top 10.
Yes.
Right off the edge.
Number 11, just missed it. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Woo! Okay. I want to hear this.
I like Guardians of the Galaxy a lot.
Uh-huh.
Ronan meaning nothing hurts it for me.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. All those guys, so much fun to watch work together. They go through all these silly trials and tribulations. Yeah. Gamora being Gamora even plays off them well. Dave Bautista pulls a Drax that I never expected.
Yes. I would have never figured that out, that would have been the Drax that we would have gotten.
Yeah.
That characterization, at least.
Right. A lot of things happen that are just a whole lot of fun, but the gravitas is lacking because, I guess, the villain is just kind of there to be beaten. Yeah.
That's not great either, huh?
Huh?
I said that's not great either.
No, it's not.
And he kind of gets being kind of in a jokey kind of way.
Yeah, the dance-off things happens, and then, Peter grabs the Infinity Stone, and the great thing about that, and the only thing that resonated on emotional form is just he kind of has that moment where he gets to sort of, at least in his mind, make up for not grabbing his mother's hand as a child as she passed away.
Yes,
which is that was a good moment, and I enjoyed that. It's ranked pretty high on my list, but it doesn't make the top 10 for me.
All right. So now we're gonna go top 10. So should we go 10 to 5 and then 4?
10 to 5. We'll knock this out.
Yeah, let's go 10 to 5. All right. So my number 10 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was a movie I was initially very disappointed after I first saw it.
Really?
Because they had me on this hunt for Infinity Stones.
Oh, okay.
And so I was looking at this movie going, it has to it's in space.
Right.
It has to have an Infinity Stone. Maybe we touch on Nova. Maybe we touch on Adam Warlock. Maybe we touch on, this or that. And it didn't.
We kind of do. Second one.
everything that I had guessed didn't work. And so the first time I left, I was like, that's a very great film, but it's a very great self-contained film where I was looking for another episode in the Infinity Saga.
Right.
And so that took a while to shake off. Watching it again, I absolutely fell in love. Listening to the soundtrack, it's one of the most joyous things to this day. Me and Dan had a conversation. Me and Dan had a conversation in studio because he was saying that he was having a bad day and he just put it on.
Right.
And it's great. And we were talking about come a little bit closer. Like all of that, all of it works so well. My only beef with it, and the reason why it's not higher, is I didn't really like the characterization of Rocket. It felt like it was a little bit out of character. The point that it made resonated.
Isn't everyone out of character to some degree? Because James Gunn just really diverges.
I mean, I feel like Peter was basically Peter, and Gamora. Okay. Gamora was somebody who chilled out a bit more. Drax was a lot more comedic. Maybe that was a bit out of character, and then Groot's just Groot. But Rocket had a chip on his shoulder between films that I didn't get.
Okay.
In that first film, he was abrasive when he felt like you were antagonizing him.
Right.
But he wasn't antagonizing people.
Okay.
And that felt a little bit weird for me. And then eventually he was like, you're just being a jerk because blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I am. And then it just ends. And I was like,
so it's the thing that now Rocket is on the offensive.
Yeah.
He's aggressively being antagonizing.
He's just being a dick. And at one point, I think Peter's like, are you just trying to be?
Make everyone hate you.
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. And then eventually comes around that he's just doing it because he doesn't think he deserves more and yada, yada. And right. that resonates. But I feel like that was an easy connection they made. They put that there to connect them. But all the stuff with the father, all the stuff with Peter Quill, the stuff with Nebula and Gamora is poetic.
Yes.
All of that there, I feel like people don't shine a light on. And it's all very, very cool. Like, all I ever wanted to do was, beat you. It's like the only thing I ever had to do. They always wanted me to fight you till I could beat you. And, all this.
I just wanted a sister.
Yeah. Like, all of that's absolutely beautiful.
Like Nebula is just trying to connect with her sister on some level, but can't.
Yeah.
And Gamora's so worried about surviving because Thanos.
A lot of people feel like Drax took a Thor turn in this film, but I feel like a lot of his stuff was funny. I'm not really like a...
I felt Drax was just doing the same thing Drax was in the first one, though.
I don't feel like he was as vocal in the first one. He wasn't like... he wasn't like, I have famously huge turds and stuff like that,
But I guess that's just more like, oh man, that Drax was real great in the first one.
That's what I'm saying.
Drax.
They really started to dig Batista's delivery of some of this stuff, especially when he's doing the but did you build yourself a penis? Like,
I too am extraordinarily humble.
Yes. Yes, you're beautiful on the inside. All that stuff was really, really good. So Guardians is my number 10.
Okay.
My number 9, which I know people have higher, The Avengers.
Okay.
After rewatching The Avengers is kind of vanilla to me. I know that's blasphemous because it's the first Marvel movie to break $1 billion. It's the first
You're gonna
Avengers
be that jerk
film.
that's like, how dare you insult WrestleMania 1?
Right. But like looking back, peeling the protective layer of it being the first Avengers,
right?
A little bit back, it looks like a very expensive made-for-TV movie. It feels like an ABC, very clean. You know how ABC's shows are very clean?
Yes.
It feels like a lot of that, and it gets us where we need to go. But when you put those last two Avengers films in comparison, and the quasi-Avengers film Civil War in comparison, those blow things out of the water.
I will say in my fanboy ism, it's got the ugliest Captain America costume.
It does. And it also feels like everybody's in it, but as shorthand as it could be, so everyone could fit in it.
Yeah.
Especially Bruce Banner. Like, that was like, what?
Right.
What? We just found him. He's smart. We need him. And then he kind of does stuff. He's kind of Hulk. It was great. It's a great film. It broke the top 10.
Right.
People. I'm defending myself prematurely, but
it just feels the barrage.
Because I feel like it will be higher on your list, I'm going to allow you to pontificate when you get there. Number 8, Thor Ragnarok. So Thor Ragnarok breaks my top 10, and the reason why it breaks my top 10 is I had no problem with the Thor character before.
That's fine.
But I have a thing for like that weird Australian British humor. Like that weird, I love Mr. Sunday movies. I love.
Oh, you mean like, the hammer pulled you off?
All that weird, that weird. There's a irreverent comedy. I just dig, and I never thought they could do it in this film because in these films because I never felt like they needed it. Right. And so when I got it, I was like, as far as like I said, the immigrant song scene is amazing, but
both times.
Yes, I find myself looking quite often to his battle with Surtur. I think that
the first one.
Oh my God, we talked about it in the review for the film where we say he got all the use out of that hammer because it eventually broke,
Right.
But if we're gonna break it in this film, we're going to use it, and like him spinning it to stop the fire and him knocking out all the soldiers around him, amazing stuff. That wide shot of him and the dragon, him trying to run away from the dragon using Mjolnir, amazing. They probably should just have Stormbreaker in it too, but anyway, yeah, just that immigrant song stuff there, and poignancy of like, I never hated you, brother. Like I always wanted, I was always your best friend. Like I always looked up to you and I always loved you. Yeah. But then I just realized that we were never gonna be on the same page about this shit, and so I was either gonna be miserable about it or just accept it, and I've grown to accept it.
Sure.
And then Loki's face of like, everyone kind of knows I'm a dick. It's not even like a hoo ha ha. They'll never figure it out. Everyone's kind of just off me. Like everyone's just like off me. I remember distinctly the Frigga funeral scene.
Yes.
And I've spoken about it as to why it's a Thor Dark World is so high on my list. And I remember also acutely the song used in that scene. And that song is parodied in Thor Ragnarok when they do the Death of Loki scene of the play, when they do the whole play. And the idea that they were poking fun at it's weird because I gave Captain Marvel a slight for this. Yeah. Right? Taking something that I liked and making it worse. But the idea that they took what I thought was the best part of Thor, the Dark World, and made fun of it was just like, wow, you guys really just are balls to the wall with this. Yeah. And then Hulk, all that stuff, Raging Fire, but big monster, all that stuff.
That's probably my favorite. that stupid moment is probably my favorite Hulk scene where it's like, we've got to go.
And you can see him, you can see him in the background running at him. You're like, what are you doing?
But big monster. Oh, it's just like, Thor wanted to smash.
Oh, and before we get off this film, Jeff Goldblum, man. Yeah. Jeff Goldblum. Being Jeff Goldblum is amazing. And again, maybe I feel a lot better about this film because I really like those Thor videos that they had. Those Team Thor videos. And they were very much in this style.
Yeah, they were.
Which maybe was their hint of being like, hey,
also their silly Willy Wonka moment where it's just rowers keep on rowing.
Oh my God, that was... and him jumping out, Banner jumping out of the thing because he's like, "Don't worry, you're gonna find out what I am." And he just splats on the Bifrost. Oh, so good.
I had to hurt. I was like, "How did that not kill him?"
So that's number 8. And for my 7 and 6, again, these could have made the top 5, and I'm pretty sure they're on somebody's top 5.
Let's hear it.
For number 7, directed by Ryan Coogler, is Black Panther.
Okay.
Black Panther is a great film. It's probably my favorite first film, besides another one that's going to break the top 5. But man, it's one of those films that I forget about until I watch it again, and I always say the same thing. This is freaking good.
Yeah.
This is freaking... And you go, like, oh, it's a superhero movie, like Black Panther, you're on Netflix, right? You're scanning through, it's like, oh, these are the same. But if you ever just put Black Panther on and decide to go, like, do your homework, whatever, and just listen to it, you'll get pulled back in.
Yes.
And you'll say the same thing again. Damn, this is a really good freaking movie.
The movie the Oscars basically got bullied into nominating.
Yes, and again, your Oscar stuff aside, and definitely race aside. Keep that all out of this conversation. Black Panther, it was just well told, great villain. The idea that the scope of what we got from Wakanda is what I wanted for Asgard. Like where it leached into the music, it leached into the costume design, everything, and they brought a whole new world to life.
There's a whole Wakandan fashion sense that got taken from that film, and people were just like, "I want these robes and jackets."
They made you interested in it, and not for nothing, man. The elation that it got in the world, that really puts it up here on my list, and I know it probably shouldn't, but it makes me proud of it existing.
Yes.
And I liked to geek out with people I normally couldn't geek out with because they wouldn't watch these films.
Right.
And now Black Panther is on that level for all of us, where we could be like, wasn't that pretty cool? Wasn't that awesome? And stuff like that. Really, really, really dug Black Panther. And they got a lot of the heavy lifting out of the way in Civil War. Yes. When it comes to his origin, so they didn't have to worry about that.
That's one thing I started to appreciate in the sense of like, oh, we just started sliding people's origin stories in other films so that when their solo movie comes out, we can just jump right in.
Yeah, that's basically what they did with Homecoming as well. Mm-hmm. So Black Panther is my number 7, and my number 6 is gonna be Avengers: Infinity War.
Really?
Yes. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Let's hear it.
Infinity War is not in my top 5 for a very, maybe even petty reason. It's that happy ending, bro. Because I didn't get that happy ending. Again, great movie. It's real close to my top 5. But because it ends on such a dour note,
wow, okay,
I can never watch the film with any other thing in my mind other than the fact that this is gonna get bad.
It's gonna get real sad.
It's gonna get real bad and real sad and real quick. And I take no joy in watching Vision get murdered, and I get no joy in watching Loki get his neck snapped. And as a Cap fan, there really isn't much Cap there.
No, there isn't.
You're gonna see how much Cap is in my top 5 when we get there. Mm-hmm. But definitely there with that. I definitely putting Infinity War there at my top. Well, I guess the bottom half of my top 10.
All right.
So I guess starting with number 10, what do you got?
So for me, number 10 is, let me just find it on this piece of paper that I have haphazardly put together at my job. Number 10 for me was actually Doctor Strange. While we all went on that thing about Caecilius being kind of a light villain, I can't get past the fact that this movie is constantly rewatchable to me. I really enjoy Benedict Cumberbatch's character, and Cumberbatch's playing of the character. I just think Benedict's a really, really good actor, even if his American accent does strike me as funny. The comedy stuff that they do with the cloak of levitation is really good, and
I like the inception of it all.
A lot of the comedy in the way it's done in this movie is actually really good to me and doesn't draw me out of the situation. Mm-hmm. All the visual effects were amazing. And
how do you like Wong?
Wong's a lot of fun. In his own special way.
His own special way.
I like that they sort of they create this very interesting relationship between him and Wong toward the end. That's much different from the comic books, which was problematic at best. If you know about it,
he was like a manservant.
Basically, so it's like the white dude with the Asian manservant.
I'm the white man that's gonna go to the Orient and teach all you Orientals how to really do the Oriental thing. Then I'm gonna take one of you back with me, and he will carry my bags and make my tea. Yes. That can
so much tea.
That can be very problematic.
Very problematic. The Inception-esque visual effects are just so much fun to watch. Tilda Swinton rocks it.
Her killing it, or like that action scene in the beginning of that film, and when she ultimately takes on the thing, so good. She's great. But Tilda Swinton's really, really good.
So yes, Mads Mikkelsen is very good at what he does, despite not being given too much to work with.
Yeah.
Even Rachel McAdams in her limited amount of scenes as the movie.
I wasn't annoyed.
No,
which I think is the bar for love interest in a comic book movie. You're either annoyed or not annoyed, and I was not annoyed.
All right, and pretty much the MCU's movie version of the Night Nurse.
Yes,
because the Netflix
one.
Night
Nurse.
Yeah,
I still love that they put that in Luke Cage. Like what?
I'm still pretty much convinced that the Netflix MCU has been dusted away completely.
Yes, but they reference Agent Carter. You know, I'm not even gonna get there. I'm not even gonna go there. Now you're gonna go there, bro. And I'm telling you, Marvel's gonna do some kind of retroactive stuff where their snap is gonna get rid of all the Netflix stuff. Like that never happened. There was never a Matt Murdock, and I'm just gonna cry. Because when I was a boy,
my city. Number 9 for me is the very first Iron Man.
Okay.
I really enjoy the film. I can go back and watch it every once in a while. It's definitely dated in its own weird way. Like, I guess maybe it's the music choices. We can keep pushing Ozzy Osbourne into the advertisements and all that stuff as much as we want, even though it's nothing to do with Iron Man.
Nope. And then it was all AC/DC after that.
Yes, shoot the thrill all day, every day. Mm-hmm. So
they didn't write that man a theme song to Iron Man 3. Iron Man did not have a theme song to Iron Man 3. So think about that. Thor had a theme song in his first theme.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
And then they just build it on its second. Mm-hmm. Asgard has its own theme song.
You understand?
Amazing. It's a really good movie, and a lot of guys shine in it. It's the very first one, and you've got to give it a bit of respect for that. What was I gonna say? Jeff Bridges pulls his weight as hard as he freaking can in that situation, especially since apparently the movie didn't have much of a script.
Yeah.
Because Jon Favreau was either...
Yeah, it was a script of the suit.
Write the script and make the suit. He was like, we're going to make a real good suit. We'll figure out the lines.
And that's the thing. You could have had an awesome script, and then people would have been like, ugh, this thing feels
horrible.
Low budget. Yeah. People are already kind of not sure with RDJ, and then you're going to have a bad suit. Like, nah. That suit sold... the promo material for that movie was amazing because you were like, oh, wow, it really looks like Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing they stopped doing after a while was just like, okay, listen, every step he makes doesn't have to make a sound.
Yeah, that weight. Remember all that generic rock music they would do as he walks away from explosions?
Bam, bam.
Yep.
And yeah, like I said, Jeff Bridges pulls his weight. The Ironmonger costume is a thing, and it was all right. It's not like the most exciting villain fight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I enjoy it. I go back and watch it every once in a while to just kind of appreciate where we came from.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Number 8 for me is, talk about appreciating where we came from, Captain America, the First Avenger. I have a lot of fun with this. I think
Chris, you find yourself enjoying First Avenger more than Iron Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Chris Evans and Haley Atwell have a fantastic chemistry.
Yeah.
Even when he's in fake small body
skinny Steve
face.
Yeah.
Like, they just work off each other really well.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Lee Jones is the perfect antagonistic general or whatever his rank was.
Yeah.
Who's just,
I can't remember his actual character's name, but yeah. He was a bit of a dick.
I don't remember his name either, but like he's just so great at put downs, at these dry but hard-fisted put-downs.
Yeah. And you have Erskine in there, really, getting to the heart of who Steve was as a person.
Yeah, and
really cool.
And everything, like, say what people want about this movie. I know a lot of people think it's boring, but, like, it shapes the character so much that it's important to the rest of the movies.
Yeah. Like, when you realize that was the man, that's the same man.
Yes.
Who wakes up in Avengers.
Right.
And thus forward. Every decision he makes is rests on the events that you see in First Avenger.
Not only who he was growing up or who he was before he got the serum, but like almost that sort of promise he makes to Erskine about who he is,
how he's gonna remain a good man.
Yeah. And it's everything the character is about. And I without gushing too much because there's gonna be more films. Like, these movies made me a Captain America fan, a character I was kind of iffy on. Before then. Red Skull is a lot of fun in his silliness. The actor who did not seem to care for doing the film just like kind of carries himself in an interesting way.
I even like Zola in there.
Yeah,
Zola's pretty fun.
Zola's pretty fun. He's even fun in his computer face.
Yes,
which we'll get to.
Captain. Yeah.
I understand where you come from, where a lot of the Cap beats up the Nazis is done in fantastical montage.
You know what a shot always makes me laugh? Ironically, I shouldn't be laughing, but it always makes me laugh when they bust open that door and he just starts shooting people.
Yeah.
It's just like the weirdest. Like, you never see that again.
It's the weird thing because it's just like, why does Cap have a gun?
You never see that again. You never see him do that again. But there's just this scene of the door busting open and just Cap pop, boom, pop, boom, pop. Boom. And I'm like, oh my God.
And he's throwing that shield, and he's got that big, bulky Captain America costume, which, by the way, I've never seen a character go through so many comic book costumes in one movie.
Yeah.
Cap just starts busting through them.
Yeah. You ain't lying.
Classic silly suit, got it. Ultimate World War II suit, got it. Regular World War II suit, bam.
Cap, definitely.
So many costumes. I think Spider-Man's trying to catch up to him for most. Warren.
And you got Bucky. Introduction of Bucky
Barnes. Yeah, James Buchanan Barnes, a big departure from the comics. They're the same age and they're just good friends.
And then you get that line, man, that's really, really awesome, where it's like, "Would you, are you willing to help follow Captain America or whatever?"
Yeah.
Like, nah, but I'll follow a kid from Brooklyn. Yeah. Like, yeah, let's hear it for Captain America. You know, that's really, really good. I'm already marching. See, I'm already marching. But that's for Hitler. Punch him in the face.
Yes,
I dig that.
Star Spangled Man with a Plan. It's real good stuff. Number 7 for me is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay. That was a significant jump from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
I spoke about how much I liked Ego as a villain.
Okay.
This is my point where I talk about, like, I just love all the character interactions in this movie, and everyone is built up so well. Even the fact that, like, when you think about the first movie, they think a lot of characters that were the bad guys, and they come all the way around.
Yeah.
Nebula and Gamora get to repair their relationship. Yondu and Peter Quill come to an understanding that they've never gotten to have. You find out that Yondu didn't just kidnap Peter, but also protected him from Ego because he knew what was going on there. And Yondu gets that amazing sacrifice at the end, which is the only time I'd ever shed a tear at an MCU movie coming up.
Okay, that would definitely move the the needle.
Oh yeah, dude, that ending with the Ravager funeral was just the most heart-wrenching thing for me.
And you had what's his face, Sean Gunn, like, yeah,
right. Sean Gunn's amazing. Baby Groot for a good year was the cutest thing that has ever been created by man.
Yeah. It's adorable.
It really
is downright adorable.
It really is.
Yeah.
They pick up Mantis, who's kind of adorable in her own right, and just it's the silliest little thing.
Yeah.
That scene with Rocket and Yondu is one of the greatest things I'd ever seen in just like character building.
Yeah.
And everyone who is guarded in some that seems like a pun. Everyone who is guarded in some way opens themselves up to the things they're hiding from other people.
Yes.
Nebula opens up the fact that she just wants to bond with her sister instead of do this ridiculous thing over again. Yondu opens up that he's just been trying to protect Peter. Peter and Nebula sort of open up about this, as they put this unspoken thing between the two of them. Rocket opens up about how he has these things where he pushes people away because he's worried they're all going to abandon him, and he's a dick just to be safe.
Yeah.
Drax opens up, but Drax is always open.
Yeah.
But Drax opens up to Groot, and Groot opens up to Drax.
Drax also opens up to Mantis.
Yes.
Where he's feeling the feelings of missing his wife and his kids, and Mantis touches his shoulder and feels the pain that he feels. Yeah.
Groot, who's always sort of negative towards Drax, opens up to him at the end when they reaches out and sleeps on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And the theme of it, which is family in a lot of ways, family and recovery, is just really strong throughout.
Yeah.
And I came out of that with so much of it, and the theme of family with Yondu and his big sacrifice, and that line about Ego was father but wasn't your daddy. It was just
and the idea also of what as the child sometimes, especially when we're being disciplined, we have this idealistic view of what our dream parents would be like. They would never do this. They would never punish me or turn off my gaming system or. And it's like, well, you had the dream version of your dad. That you just met him. He was the whole planet that was trying to kill you.
Right.
But you never really paid attention that Yondu was the one that was, checking out for you and looking out for you. Yeah. He could have handed you over, and he didn't.
It's so many things get opened up in that film, and add to that just the really good stuff with Ego and all the great music, and everything about the second one to me was stronger than the first one.
Yeah.
And it has a higher resonance than the first one. I think the first one's a lot of fun and people come around to some things, but it's, a little more shallow.
Yeah.
Number... What am I on? Stay with me, paper.
I think you're up to 6.
Number 6. Number 6 for me is The Avengers.
All right.
Number 6 doesn't break... Yeah, The Avengers does not break the top 5 for me, and I imagine that will be weird for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But... I feel the same way that a few guys felt about it. I know Dan talks about it, and while the character building is great, there is that part of it's not really the Avengers the last 15 minutes of the film, and we're dealing with a lot of these other things, all these characters getting to know each other and
fighting in the forest.
Well, yeah. Yes, that's right. Like Thor just shows up even though he's not supposed to be able to make it to the planet.
He doesn't even really want to be there. He wants to get Loki and leave.
Right, yeah.
The entire film, even to the end of the film, he's like, I'm gonna go take him to Odin.
Yeah. That this whole thing was to get Loki back to.
Yeah, I don't even know you, and I might never see you all again.
Right.
I need to go to
So, like, it's a whole lot of movie, and it's a benchmark film, and it's enjoyable in its own way. But like, I don't come away with a ton of stuff. Like, there's other Avengers films I'd rewatch the last two before it. Although the last two are basically one massive film to me. The first Avengers is a lot of fun, and we already spoke on everything that kind of goes on in it. The characterizations are important when you think about everyone's going to grow so much from this. Captain America's going to change. Hulk's going to go through a lot of stuff. Thor's going to change irrevocably.
Yes.
Iron Man's going to go through a whole lot of crap.
Yeah.
Black Widow's going to have some interesting situations she gets put in.
Hawkeye's going to get a haircut.
Yeah, but
these things happen, people.
But the Battle of New York is iconic, and that round shot is, emblematic of the entire MCU journey.
Yes.
And it's you almost can't watch any of it without watching that at least once.
Yes.
So its importance resonates.
And that Tony Stark sacrifice moment was played very well.
Yes, it was.
And that also is the linchpin of that character. From that moment when he sees space and sees the depth of space, that he's irreversibly changed.
Yes.
Yeah. So
stays with him for pretty much ever.
But now it's time for the hot seats. It's time for the final 5. So I'm going to do my number 5 and 4. You'll do 5 and 4, and then we'll do our final 3 to finish this off. Okay. My number 5 is Iron Man. Okay. I love Iron Man. I can watch it at any time. I love how much of a dick Tony Stark is. I love...
No gang signs.
This had to sell it. He sold us on Iron Man from this one movie, and you can see why.
Yeah.
You can see that this movie is doing its best to charm you. To doing its best to, like, you don't want to watch this movie. You don't like superhero movies, right? But you like this one, right? Aren't I a little funny? Wasn't that a little cool? Doesn't that make a little sense?
Right.
It's a little bit more science than it is comic books, right? I mean, someone could just build these things, and all of that grounded nature, I felt like really helped resonate. I loved Jon Favreau in the role, and with him directing, it was way more human than the other Iron Man movies feel like to me.
Okay.
And that scene of Obadiah ripping his heart out, and then him having to crawl for it, and then the dunce crane thing helps him out. It's where we got the proof Tony Stark has a heart, and so just watching him with his ingenuity get out of that situation where he got captured, the IED and stuff, was amazing. The Tony Stark, built this in a cave with scraps, that you can characterize the entire person by that line.
Yeah,
that line speaks so much. It's like he had rocks and he built an arc reactor. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's much more of a threat than you give him credit for. And Iron Man was somebody that was never on my radar as far as superheroes were concerned. Literally.
I remember kind of liking the concept of the suit.
I liked him in Marvel vs. Capcom because he did the photon blast. That's
the big old cannon.
That's it. Yeah. Photon cannon. That's all I cared about. That was all I was there for. And you could do that with War Machine too. So that's all. That's my number 5.
Okay.
My number 4, a lot higher than when you put it on the list, is Guardians of the Galaxy. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think that what initially gets this up so high is I did not expect this at all.
Sure.
I fell in absolute love, head over heels, with the characterization of Peter Quill.
Okay.
As somebody who's incredibly a fish out of water.
Yeah.
But his tie and his tether to Earth is his music. Is the music that he remembered growing up. And my family always played music growing up, so I really, really dug all that. I dig the entire soundtrack, which was the beginning of opening that door that we get in Guardians 2, which I believe has a better soundtrack, but again, trying to give the nod to the original.
Yeah.
With that there. But yeah, really, really like Peter Quill. I love Zoe Saldana as an actress.
Okay.
And so when she got brought in there, that was cool. Batista.
Zoe Saldana is Hollywood Space Queen.
Yeah, right?
Avatar, Star Trek, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Money. And so Drax being in there as me as a wrestling fan was huge. So all these things, they was hitting all these notes, and then that I'm telling you, I think I had it. If you go back, we did our best moments of the MCU. Remember up until that point?
Yes.
And I think I had it on there, which was like Peter, give me your hand. I really dug that whole looking back, seeing his mother, and then all of them spreading the power. Now, to me, it's cheesier now that you know that he's a celestial over there. That got kind of undercut by 2, in my opinion. But when you believe that he would have died by himself had they not spread the energy between them.
Yes,
I felt like that was way more of a poignant scene. The introduction of the Collector, all that stuff, I thought was really, really cool. Guardians is up there as a movie that I would have never guessed was what it became, and it same way that that Iron Man rose the stake of Tony Stark in my mind. You couldn't get me to pick up a Peter Quill anything, and I have his mask now. I have his coat. The MCU characterization of Peter Quill, I would say, is probably as strong as the Captain America and Iron Man characterizations. I think that Peter Quill's characterization is stronger than Scott Lang's characterization. Right. And so, and then you got me down with the team. Like, it's hard to make these team films. We saw Suicide Squad. You know, these things aren't easy. They're not cut and dry. You need 5 of them before you feel La Familia, like in Fast and the Furious. Right. But they did it in 1, and eventually in 2 topped it off. So Guardians is my number 4. So what is your 5 and 4?
My 5 and 4 is number 5 is Black Panther. Black Panther, which you've already talked and liked about, but yes, particularly for me, it really resonated strong with me. Not only with all the themes of trying to feel like your father's shoes, but also being, you know, a different king for a different time, but also the themes of the separation between the actual African people and the African Americans, and how that creates a weird tension, and
everybody looking to you to do what's right, even though you may not know exactly what that is.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna guess, and half the people are gonna get mad anyway.
Right. And then just being able to, like, the end of it being that, you know, I recognize that while this other guy was wrong about his methods, he was right about the message. Yeah. And Wakanda coming out and opening themselves up to the world. I just think everything was handled really well.
You rarely see that. There's a lot of times where the villain is semi-correct, or at least correct in his logic, but his actions aren't. And they throw all of it away. Right. They throw all of it away. You're wrong, so I shot you, and you're dead now, and so that's it. Open and shut case. Where this was like, you know, that was kind of... the message was so empowering that my people were kind of down. You know, like at least half of my people were down with this.
Even my sister was half down, and I was ignoring her earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So I know, and
talking about
Nakia as well was like, we should be giving our stuff to other countries that need it. And
we should be helping people.
That is nice, but maybe not today. So a lot of that was going on.
Maybe we respect traditions.
Yes. And the soundtrack's popping as well.
Yes.
Amazing soundtrack.
Number 4. This is where it gets interesting for me because I really struggled with these. Yeah. Number 4 for me becomes Captain America: Civil War.
Ooh, that hurt, huh?
I love Captain America: Civil War. That's how I know it hurt. Yeah. And it's also, if I could be just silly about visual things, like, I love the suit. That's my favorite Captain America suit.
It's amazing.
I will put myself on the guillotine for the fact that it is a highly convoluted journey. Yeah. There's a lot going on, and if you really think about it, there's a lot of things that have to perfectly fall into place for everything to happen, and it falls into the plot armored convenience of comic books. Right. And I accept that.
You kind of just nod through the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah, you do. It's just like, oh, he dragged him over here.
Okay, that makes sense. And then they all went to Siberia.
Well, it's a good thing that those guys reacted that way, because...
good thing Black Panther was right behind them. So
yeah. You know, it's real... It's a good thing all the right people on the right side, and, you know, they didn't just catch Bucky. Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, for all of it, for that weirdness, and for how so many things had to fall into place, I think this is one of those movies where they handled the source material better than the comic book did. Yes.
They made it a lot more intimate.
It's a lot more intimate, and for all the people that were upset that they didn't get the massive freaking Civil War fight, you're out of your freaking minds.
But they couldn't name half those people in that last video.
No, they couldn't.
You know,
they couldn't. But at the same...
did you guys forget that Hulkling changes the tides? Yeah, I forgot that, right? Yeah, you know about that. Hulkling? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Figure it out.
Also, at the same, I think it handles both people arguing both sides very well. Even if I am always Team Cap on it, I recognize what Tony is seeing and where Tony is coming from. Tony's just trying to stop something worse.
Yes.
And while Tony makes bad decisions in this, he doesn't make the bad decisions he makes in the comic books, which is where Tony just goes full villain.
Yeah.
Toward the end.
Yeah.
With Mr. Fantastic.
I'm telling you. Once that thing comes back down, it's a wrap.
Yeah. So it's an incredibly well done movie, and then the emotional resonance where at the end you find out that, you know, Bucky was the one who killed his parents, and Iron Man just loses his whole head.
All of it.
It was so well done. Everything was so well done, including the introduction of T'Challa and Black Panther.
And Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man, yes.
Yeah.
Which is even for seemingly being a last-minute addition, rather. It introduces the MCU to the Spider-Man.
Yes.
Such a great film. Great soundtrack with Harry Gregson Williams.
And it just etches out your top 3, huh?
Just etches out. I think I always find myself poking fun at how convoluted it is.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Even so, like, whether or not it's a better film, I remember, people like talking about how Batman v Superman is such a convoluted film. It's like, okay, wait, let's break down Civil War for a second here and start asking these questions.
Yeah.
Like, they're both pretty bad at that.
I remember that being levied against Civil War, that it was that the villain's plan was just as, you know,
convoluted as
that. Yeah. Everything had to work exactly to that point for it to get there. I remember that, and that's a fair fair criticism.
It's fair
to have.
But
the same way in Dark Knight, you could say the same thing about Dark Knight as well.
Yes.
Like, that's a lot of dominoes, B.
It's a lot of setups.
That's a lot of dominoes.
So that's my number 5 and number 4.
Woo! It's time for the top 3, baby. This is what y'all were waiting for. GT and the Don's top 3 MCU movies of all time. And here we go. So my number 3, which I'm pretty sure you have a bit higher, is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We've spoken at great length about Bucky as a villain, but the idea that Captain America, somebody who they convinced me to start liking, this kind of meek and mild-mannered super soldier. He's huge. His biceps are bigger than my head, but he's kind of to himself, and he's well-mannered, and he's polite. He has all these old sensibilities. He starts to feel the world around him changing.
Yes.
And his reaction to that is incredibly interesting to me, because he initially starts to think maybe it's him. You know, like, maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I'm just old fashioned.
Right.
But when people like Fury are like, you need to get with the program, he's like, no, that's wrong.
Right.
And that, though, the beginning of that characterization is what made me fall in love with Captain America. While I did appreciate First Avenger, this is what told me and proved to me that Captain America isn't just a patriotic rah-rah America.
The flag waver.
Yeah. And he will wave the flag, but he believes in what the best America could be, not whatever America decides to do that Monday.
Yeah.
He's down with it. And so him having that opposition, him going rogue, that elevator scene, him people like the elevator scene. I like right after when he jumps out of the damn elevator
in the
500 feet to the ground,
just shield bang,
just the shield, and then they're like, oh, he's not. There's no way for him to get out, and then he comes out on the motorcycle, does the triple axle onto the Quinjets, breaks both of the engines.
Shield.
Oh,
big
and
flip.
The music is playing. First of all, "Taking a Stand" is my favorite song in the MCU.
Right.
I love it. And before I even knew about MCU scores like that, I remember thinking that song spoke so much about purpose, and like there's so much of your head is held high, and you're literally fighting uphill. That's how that song resonates to me. And when I think of Captain America and Winter Soldier, I literally think of him fighting his own country. He's literally on the outs. He's considered a renegade, considered a radical. And he's almost trying to be arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. at that point. It's incredible. And I can say more about it. I know yours. You have it on the list, so I'm gonna take it over to you when you get to where it's at on the list. But like I said, I think Bucky was a great foil. And that ending, the end of the line stuff, is great. Those shots that they do of Bucky punching him look like they hurt. They resonate like they hurt. You are hurting with Cap in that moment.
Oh God, I hate they do the swelling on Cap's. Oh God.
Yes, very very good on that. And all the action scenes, all this stuff. The really cute, honest, budding relationship between him and Falcon.
Yeah,
like that was really genuine.
I also really like that little off-kilter friendship with him and Widow.
Oh, really great! It's my favorite dynamic.
Yeah, they work really well together. I used to
really like Hawkeye and Widow, and I do like their pairing. But
yeah,
she really digs Steve in a way. She really respects Steve in a way that you don't get the cherry on top of that till you get to Civil War.
Right.
But I really dug that a lot. My number 2, Avengers Endgame.
Okay.
Avengers Endgame, and I fought with this, and I fought with this, and I fought with this. Anyone who knows me knows that I have a very particular idea of Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. I feel like they are almost more than movies.
This is interesting.
They feel to me like pay-per-views, like events.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like they follow the typical narrative structure of a film.
Right.
And so it's very hard for me to put it, because what you would say is like, if you couldn't see any of the other ones and you only saw, but then what is it? What is one without the other?
Right.
Really. And so, because they're so tied like that, I couldn't have it be my number 1. But Endgame was amazing. It's everything I wanted. We went on forever about it in the last episode, so you guys can go back to hear my thoughts on it. But Avengers Assemble, he is worthy. I love you 3000. All of it and more.
Buy the shirt.
Exactly, and we have a shirt available at tpublic.com. But yeah, man, just genuine feels. And my favorite part of that movie is coming to be those signatures, those signing offs at the end.
Yeah,
man, because that's just such a
it felt so special when I saw it. Like, oh wow, this is cool.
It's such an epic bow to everything that we were just speaking about. Yeah. All these movies, all these moments, all these villains. Absolutely amazing. And Thanos, their ability to bring him back as a threat when we've already saw how much of a threat he was. Mm-hmm. The ability to make him a bigger threat, I thought was just really, really great. But then, in case you haven't figured it out, my number 1 film, my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe film, is Captain America: Civil War. Mm-hmm. Captain America: Civil War is my favorite film because it's the most Cap film of the MCU. And the reason why I say it's more Captain Winter Soldier is because we get to see how we get to see directly how people feel about Captain America, how the rest of the Avengers feel about Captain America, the world, basically. We get to see how S.H.I.E.L.D. feels, how Iron Man feels, how a guy from another country who finds out that the shield that he's rocking is from his land. Right. We get to see how he feels. We get to see the friendship of him and Bucky pushed to the ultimate test. We get to see the friendship between him and Iron Man pushed to the ultimate test. Right. We saw Cap willing to lose. Like, he was willing to die, willing to lose. Mm-hmm. Like, I've never seen him that reserved of, like, until we get to Endgame where he's like, well, if this is it, then this is what this is going to be.
Not to mention that, like, it's the point is made very sternly that, like, even his friends or the people on his side are willing to lose for him to get to the other end.
And that's what kills me, mission. Man. The loyalty people have for Cap in these movies almost makes me want to cry. Yeah. You understand? I've felt that loyalty before, and it is empowering. It will make you think you could stand up to hordes and hordes of armies.
Like, and we're going to have to take the fall for you to make it to the other side, man.
I have the Civil War poster on my wall, and I often look at it and laugh because the entirety of Iron Man's side eventually defect to Captain America's, except for Rhodey, who doesn't know anything. He's just going to listen to whatever Cap says. And Vision, who's a robot built by Tony. Right. So everybody else, Black Panther switches sides. Spider-Man gets knocked out, so he can't even finish the fight. And then Widow switches sides. Right. Everyone with a brain figures out.
But also, Rhodey has always been a member of this version of the military and the government, so he's always just like, dog, I am more worried about them than I'm worried about this.
And Rhodey takes the stand that people would assume Cap would. Yeah. Being so militaristic and being so, for the armed forces. But he doesn't. Cap's like, we're better than this and we should be better than this. That airport fight, again, it may not be better than some of the stuff we saw in Endgame or Infinity War, but that is the beginning of what showed us we can get there.
Right.
With that. And that ending, watching him drop that shield and walk away from it because he doesn't need it anymore. He has his best friend. And that best friend predates that shield by quite some time.
Yes.
And the idea that he was reserved in that, I'd never have to be Captain America again. Like, y'all that serious about that? Y'all can keep it.
I will be the nomad.
That really,
and I will grow a beard.
That really, really resonated with me. I can see that movie 18 million thousand times. And you're right. There's some bits of it where I'm like, I'll get to the cool part.
Yeah.
But
not even that. I don't mind any of the debates because I think that's some of the strength of the mill.
I mean, more so film. Like the mission report stuff, which ultimately comes back into the end and brings you
bacon.
That him killing the Starks was one of the biggest surprises in the MCU.
Yeah.
A genuine surprise, even though we all had kind of a hint.
It's hinted to in Winter Soldier, but like this is like, oh, okay, wow.
And so for the first time, I feel like ever, we were asked to be put in that position. What would you do?
Right.
And the fact that people have such wildly varying answers makes this a good film to me because it says that you're right either way. Same way that Tony Stark was kind of right. Same way that Steve Rogers was kind of right. And that goes all the way. The events from this film shake this team all the way to Endgame. And that's why
I think we should talk about the book one day.
Yes.
And how much of a wreck that was.
But my number one is going to go to Captain America Civil War. I'm very interested in hearing your 3 and 2 and 1.
Okay, number 3 is Avengers Infinity War. I don't mind the bleakness at the end. And it is such a bold move to me that I think it emboldens the film.
It was the most unique cinematic experience I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because all of us were just like, Cap, what the hell just happened and what are we supposed to do now?
I can detail the entire experience. It's mostly like it happens and all the people start fading away and it was such a, like, they don't play any music over it and you're just watching people fall apart.
And Bucky can handle it. He's a soldier. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get it. We lose soldiers and stuff like that. And some Wakandans are disappearing, and that's whatever. But then it's like Spider-Man, stuff like that, and Black Panther, and it's like, whoa, you're taking the good ones.
We just got him.
You're taking like main stars, where Bucky was always kind of like a side character. Right. And it was like, whoa.
The entire Guardians team dies except for Rocket, the most miserable one.
And me and you had just spoke about how much affection we had just gained for this team because of events like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And so that literally should be called a decimation because we were decimated.
Yeah. Like I said, there's silence throughout the entire thing. There's like the utter confusion with like Rhodey keeps asking what happened and Cap's just sitting there like,
what? He just goes, oh God.
God. It cuts to the shot of Thanos who just goes to like his garden and sits down and like kind of smiles at his victory and it just cuts the credits so hard. And you're just left in that moment to sit in it. Hoping that the credits or something will do something nice.
And even worse, they show the Avengers and that fades away.
Yeah, and like that somber piano version of the Avengers theme. And you're just like, oh my God, we lost so bad. We lost so hard.
And it's like, that's it.
But there's going to be a great moment in the credits. No,
the moment in the
Maria Hill fades away. And Nick Fury.
Oh my God! Did that have 2 post credit things or 1?
What?
Did I have 2 post credits or 1?
I think it only had 1.
Okay.
I think they just I think it just cuts off the it just plays through and leaves you to sit there, and then there's the final ending with the
cry.
Yeah, and then there's the final ending with the beeper.
And you just cry.
You just leave the theater flabbergasted, like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
It is such a bold move to me that it always stayed with me.
I can respect that.
It's a well done movie. I do get that, like, it ebbs and flows on whether or not some of your favorite characters get a bunch of screen time.
Yeah.
Cap doesn't get a bunch because like it spends so much time off world and he's just on Earth doing Earth things.
There's a lot of Tony in it.
There's a lot of Tony.
There's a lot of Strange in it, and you are a big Doctor Strange fan. You probably got the best Strange.
I did.
Is in Infinity War.
Doctor Strange. Pretty much being the only dude who could stand right in front of Thanos and just like, oh yes, let's play.
The gauntlet. He has the gauntlet on. He has several stones in that gauntlet.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's just like I can turn all these things you throw at me into whatever.
Yeah, you thought I just could do what I did in Doctor Strange. You see, it's been a couple years. I learned some things.
I turned this rock into doves.
Those whips, the bands of Satarak.
Oh, you had the crimson bands.
The millions of Doctor Stranges, the doves, the black hole, all of that. The mirror dimension, throwing the mirror dimension at him. Yeah. Which only works, all those things only work if you've seen Doctor Strange. Right. Because you're like, oh, I recognize that.
It's like the only reason he can fight it, he can power it, that Thanos can fight it off is because of the gauntlet. Yeah. Yeah. Like, other than that, you'd be like, what the heck's happening?
Exactly.
Which is why, I'll get to that point later. But a lot of that stuff is great, and while some of the battles on Earth are still a lot of fun, Doctor Strange and Iron Man against the Black Order, the members of the Black Order. Yeah.
I was gonna say the Black Children of Thanos, but that's not what it's called.
No, just the Children of Thanos. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The battle of Wakanda is a lot of fun too, and like watching all those guys, like that great scene of watching them all charged toward the army, and then Cap and Black Panther just get ahead of them.
Yeah, running up there.
A lot of it's a whole lot of fun. Freaking poor Bucky, where it's just like, where's the fight?
And
there's always a fight.
A moment that I believe was in your top 5 greatest MCU moments of all time. Bring me Thanos.
Yes. My moment of redemption for Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hell of a moment. Stormbreaker was a hell of a moment. Even Forging Stormbreaker. Yes. Really, really good character moments, character beats. Yes. That's probably my favorite Thor is the Infinity War Thor. Now when I think about it, because I do think, because I enjoyed Ragnarok. Yeah. It's the right middle.
Yeah, it's a very good mix of both.
Yeah, and you got a little bit of Loki in there too. So
yeah, you do. Number 2 ends up being Avengers Endgame. We both landed there actually. Yeah. I adore this movie. I do think it becomes difficult to rank when you consider the fact that you kind of have to have some backstory going in. Yes. Like, it is the wrong movie to just walk right into. It's not the happy place there. Yeah. But
even with that handicapping it, even with the idea that you probably will feel a lot more barren had you not watched majority of the 22 films we just spoken about. Even with that handicapping it still manages to move the needle.
Yeah, it's still a very exciting film and a lot of fun and a lot of great action. It does hurt it because everything is a huge a callback in a way or a reference to something. Huh?
No, I said
Yeah, everything is very much a callback or a reference to something. Yes. So like, I feel that if you're not watching it, it leaves a lot of empty feelings.
Definitely, and you felt like everyone was really emotional in that movie. And I also really like that weird deep violin suite they got for Thanos.
Ah, okay.
Where he's like this weird almost civilized man that has to explain why he's killing you kind of stuff going on. Like that was really, really good. And Iron Spider. Yes. But with Endgame bringing everybody back when we knew they were going to come back. Again, it's a Thanos thing. Yeah. We knew Thanos was going to come. So you have to bring it because we're expecting. We've wrote a million different scenarios in our heads. Right. You got to beat that. No one saw portals from all over the world opening up with armies of Wakandans and Asgardians and Ravagers and
Doctor Strange in the clutch.
Yeah, you understand? Every sanctum that they got coming through, no one expected that. And they did it and they capped it off and it was amazing. And then you got that, you talk about moments. We're both Cap fans. He got his win.
He did. He got his big W.
And that's a big part of it. I like I said, everyone's thing is going to be subjective, especially when it comes to who you resonate with. And I really resonate with Cap. Yes. So the idea that you can be that kind of a person.
But I also got my big win out of it as a person who also resonated with Sam Wilson being Cap.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was like, 2 big W's.
How do you feel about people are suggesting that Bucky got snubbed?
No.
Did Bucky want that?
Did Bucky want it?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
No, right?
No.
Bucky got his own thing going on.
I don't think Bucky wants that pressure. But also Bucky's profile in that world is terrible.
He's also lived a life.
Yeah.
He may not look as old, but he's lived a life.
I don't think he's super. I don't think it's obviously gonna happen. I don't think he's looking forward to more fights.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bucky's profile in the world is not suit to be Captain America.
Yes.
Like isn't this the guy that murdered several people and is the Winter?
And to be fair, a lot of people point to the fact that Bucky was Captain America in the comics, but if you want to follow that through line, he was Captain America in the comics almost out of revenge. He wanted to find the person who killed Cap, and he was going to uphold Cap's honor to do so.
But also they push it on him because Steve Rogers leaves that letter for Tony where it's just don't
give something to Bucky, because if not, if he has too much time on his hands, he's gonna start killing people again.
Yeah, don't let the dream die.
Yeah, he basically look out for Bucky. Make sure you're looking out for Bucky. Make sure that you're on there for Bucky and stuff like that. So, no, I definitely dig that.
That leads me to my big number one, which my big number one is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
And I think a lot of it lays down to me as a story that resonated really strong, which is the idea that you were this scrawny dude that got a chance to be the soldier you wanted to be, and it was a real easy kind of place to be in at that point, in the sense that it's the Nazis. It's real simple. We're fighting the bad guy. Bad guys are the Nazis. No one's gonna dispute that.
Right.
We went in there and we did the thing. The Red Skull went off to Volmir,
right?
Which we didn't find out for 10 years.
Nope.
But we defeated the Red Skull, but I had to sacrifice my life in the process to, win the war and defeat the Nazis. At least it seems like that battle won the war.
Yeah.
It's not very clear.
Not clear cut at all.
But I sacrificed my life to, and missed out on my chance with the woman I love to win the war and beat the bad guys. Only to wake up, what is it, 70 years?
About 70 years, yeah.
Only to wake up 70 years later.
It's been 70 years, Cap.
Yeah. It's been 70 years.
It's been so long.
It's been so long. You're still alive. The woman you love is alive, but is bedridden and has dementia.
Yes.
And to find out, not only is the thing you are fighting for still around,
Hydra,
but that they have recruited and warped
almost covered more ground. Yeah, almost covered more ground in your absence.
Yeah, they've grown. Not only are they still around, but they have grown in your absence. It's not just a thing in Germany, but it is this massive,
your co-workers.
Yeah. It is this massive virus that has seeped into the American private military foundation.
Yeah.
But that the best friend you lost in the war is still alive and has been warped by this evil machine.
It touches everything. It poisons everything.
What world did I wake up in?
Yeah.
Everything.
And what's right in this world? When the people who are supposed to be doing right are doing wrong.
Right.
What is right in this world?
He does the only thing that makes sense. I guess I'll just re-enlist. And that doesn't work out for him.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the military, but he becomes, he starts working with Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. And that doesn't work out for him. Because, now it's not just about, fighting the bad people. It's the whole situation's warped.
Exactly.
Fighting is not what it was.
Yeah. And, as somebody who's so used to taking orders, who's giving the right orders?
Yeah.
Who do I believe?
Right.
Even Nick Fury's following Pierce at a point.
Right.
Until he's I don't even know. And then Nick Fury fakes his death, don't even tell Cap.
No.
So who does Cap trust?
No.
You understand? So
nobody trusts.
Really puts
by the end of it, he's just we burned it all down, man.
And that's why, this coupled with the idea that he can pick up the hammer, this idea that all you got to do to be worthy is just try to be good.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful message. Definitely a beautiful message.
So, it helps itself to, I think it's an easy watch in the sense that you don't need too much. They kind of give you a little bit of Bucky. If let's say Winter Soldier's your first movie, they give you a little bit of what happened with Bucky.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, here it is. If you didn't remember, let's run that back.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're not too lost on it. It's got a lot of great action that you didn't get to see from the first Avenger because it's all in montage. Yeah, it does.
It starts right off the bat. It starts hot.
You get a little moment with Batroc the Leaper, an old sea villain, but a memorable one for Cap.
Yes. And he's definitely doing some leaping.
Yes, he is. He is.
Yeah, but and like I said, the elevator scene again. Does anybody want to get off?
Yeah.
Really great.
The elevator scene's great.
Having to steal his suit back from the thing because he doesn't want to rock the shield suit anymore. That was really good. Arnim Zola in the screen.
We are both of us out of time.
Yes.
The helicarrier scene is great. We get introduced to Sam Wilson.
Yeah. On your left.
On your left becomes a big callback at the end.
Yeah, on your left, man. That's where it started.
That was the callback I didn't expect.
But that scene in general, just like the wide shots of DC as them running around the monuments and stuff like that. Like that's so cap, and the music.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
So like that's that. I think that's probably it's still my favorite film. Yeah. It's an easy watch. I can just throw it on anytime and enjoy myself.
I think that's a respectable number one, and I also think that's a respectable list. And I also very, very, very much so like my list. But I wonder if we got a little cap heavy. You guys are gonna have to tell us if we got a little cap heavy. And you guys, I want to know what some of these other people's.
We all make choices.
Yes, we all have to make choices, Captain. So, yeah, these were ours. Love them, hate them, write in, let us know how you feel about them. But the MCU, as we know it in the Infinity Saga, is up. It is over. And this is how we feel about those 22 films. But we are going full steam ahead to Spider-Man Far From Home and all the multiversal concepts it's trying to bring in. And we'll have more to talk about later with that. But you're going to want to make sure that you're here for every single episode of the Major Issues Podcast. We are wherever podcasts are found. That's Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the Apple Podcast app on any iDevice. If all of that is too hard, just go to Google and type in Major Issues Podcast. And we're the first ones that pop right up. I want to thank everybody who's already liked, shared, and subscribed. Our numbers are growing. I've been to the future, and we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books and comic book media. So I want to thank all of you guys for sharing and supporting and commenting. It's been really cool to get opinions from the Clique out there and get them expressed here on the podcast. We have such crazy fans. We've been killing it with the Endgame memes. There's been a million Endgame memes on our pages, which you guys can follow at facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, or use the hashtag comicbookclick to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic book and comic book media. We're at Major Issue CBC on Twitter. GT?
I'm at Rebirth GT.
Yes, and we are we sell shirts on TeePublic. We're on YouTube. All of those links will be in the show notes. But never forget that you can reach us at comicbookclick@gmail.com. Too many ads. comicbookclick@gmail.com. That's the direct line to us here as part of the Major Issues Podcast. And any questions and comments and concerns, and we'll be able to express them right there. Like I said, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for being on this journey, not only with us, but with the MCU. My name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I am Gregory Thomas, a.k.a. GT Rebirth.
And remember, whether or not you're a goddess of death, a militant man just looking for his place in the world, there's a lot of gods, the god of mischief,
yes, there is.
An accuser, an accursed, whether you're a ghost, an abomination, or there ain't no strings on you. Remember that we are the Clique. This has been the MCU. And you, yes, you, and Captain America. I had to do it. We are all worthy.